I'm cultivating immortality with the science of mortals. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 701, Heart Seizing and Soul Seizing. The sword suddenly grew to a length of several feet, and a thick layer of yellow spiritual light appeared on the sword, protecting Yi Laoki behind him. The blood-colored stream swept over and completely submerged Yi Laoki in it. At this time, there was a hissing sound, and a fierce knife about 10 feet long appeared in the bloodlight, and it slashed fiercely on the blade of the yellow giant sword. This knife looked strange, but only 2 fingers wide, and compared to its length, it could be said to be as thin as plain paper. The blade flashed with a strange bloodlight, exuding an amazing demonic aura. After the heavy spiritual light covering the giant sword was cut by it, it just shook slightly, and broke into pieces. Then, the blood knife took advantage of the situation, and slashed on the body of the yellow giant sword. Suddenly, many runes lit up on the yellow giant sword, and the spiritual light flashed wildly, intertwined with the bloodlight, and the situation became deadlocked. However, Yi Laoki's face did not ease at all. He could sense that this magic weapon that he had put countless efforts into was just struggling to support it, and he would never buy him much time. Without time to be shocked by the power of the blood knife, Yi Laoki flipped his palm and took out a flawless white porcelain bottle. And it was this action that inadvertently saved his life. The blood knife, which was originally fighting with the yellow giant sword, suddenly bent without any warning, bypassed the giant sword with extreme flexibility, and slashed towards Yi Laoki's side. Its escape speed was as fast as lightning. If Yi Laoki had not just sacrificed the porcelain bottle and immediately poured its mouth towards the blood knife, using the large piece of thick white mist that gushed out from it to resist, I'm afraid that he would have been beheaded at this moment. For a while, the sound of hissing silk tearing sounded one after another, and the white mist was like window paper, and was chopped into pieces under the continuous slashing of the blood knife. Yi Laoki didn't care to think too much at this time, and spit out a ball of silver light from his mouth, facing the blood knife that was about to break through the white mist. The next moment, the blood knife met the silver light ball head on. After a crisp clang sound, the silver light ball was shaken apart, revealing a silver fork wrapped in it. Seeing that he finally blocked the fatal blood knife, Yi Laoki's face relaxed, and he was about to escape. He was very self-aware. As long as the sneak attack failed, he would never be able to defeat Luo Hong. However, the incarnation arranged by Luo Hong to counter him did not want the prey that was delivered to the door to jump away. I saw a black air arrow shot from the back, and it hit the bloodlight in an instant, and then it merged into it. The next moment, the bloodlight on the blood knife surged, and the power suddenly increased. The silver fork that could withstand the blood knife could not resist it immediately, and was split in half. Yi Laoki's face turned pale, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of black blood. Fortunately, he reacted quickly, and moved the yellow giant sword in front of him with a thought, blocking the blood knife's momentum. At this moment, Yi Laoki's mind was full of thoughts of abandoning the car to save the general. He didn't care about the porcelain bottle magic weapon and the yellow giant sword. The yellow spiritual light on his body flashed, and turned into 5 illusory yellow shadows. He was about to escape in the next moment, but a black light attacked from the side, and broke his escape technique with a crushing blow, causing him to stumble and fall out. No! Amid Yi Laoki's desperate roar, the blood knife that shattered the yellow giant sword slashed through his body, and sucked all his blood in an instant. Even the Yuanian couldn't escape, leaving only 2 pieces of dried corpses falling from the air. A little earlier in time, Mrs. Mu and Lan Kea, who had escaped from the center of the storm, entered a secret underground palace. After using the dragon seal to unlock the restrictions at the entrance of the palace, the 2 women stepped into it, and the moment they entered this underground palace, the restrictions in the palace were triggered, and the sound of Teng Teng burning fire continued to sound, and the den hall was illuminated brightly. The hall was very empty. Apart from the supporting stone pillars, there were only complicated array patterns on the ground. The most eye-catching thing was the small altar in the center. It's here. Seeing the altar, Madame Mu immediately showed joy on her face. She and Lankea climbed to the top of the altar in a flash. "Sister, can we enter the 9th floor of the demon suppression tower from here?" Although Lankea was Madame Mu's confidant, she didn't know many things due to the rules of the sect. "That's right. After I offer the dragon seal, we will go to the 9th floor to reinforce the seal. I believe we can suppress some of the power of the witch." Madame Mu gritted her teeth and said, thinking of how she almost died at the hands of a charming woman. However, she had just offered the dragon seal and hadn't waited to perform the spell when the entire underground palace began to shake violently. Then the rumbling sound of explosions continued to come, and the vibration of the ground had never been heard before. The faint roar of the beast made them feel palpitating. "Damn it, what happened outside? I can't activate the altar like this." Looking at the altar with chaotic runes flashing, Madame Mu panicked. Fellow Daoist Luo has been fighting with the witch, and both sides have sacrificed their magical treasures. The noise here is just the aftermath of their fight. A hurried male voice came from the palace door. "Fellow Daoist Hua, you followed us." Madame Mu easily recognized Hua Xianqi's voice and said sternly, "Who told Madame to have a plan to escape? The situation is urgent, and this place may be destroyed by the aftermath of the fight at any time. Madam, instead of pursuing the rude behavior of Hua and others, it is better to leave this space first." Before entering the underground palace, Hua Xianqi witnessed the shocking power of Luo Hong and the witch's divine power with his own eyes. That was definitely not a force they could resist, so he said in a very anxious tone, "Is it so bad? This lady knows. Fellow Daoist Hua, you and the other 3 fellow Daoists must stand in for directions in the hall immediately. Use your magic power to protect the altar, and help this lady cast the spell." Madame Mu heard Hua Xianqi's serious words, and she dared not delay, and immediately made arrangements. "Okay. The lives of the 4 of us depend on you." Since Hua Xianqi chose to follow, he would not distrust Madame Mu at this time. After nodding heavily, he took action with his 3 junior brothers. With their help, the altar quickly regained stability. Madame Mu pinched her hands, and a series of emerald green spells popped out from her fingertips. Then, a dragon shadow emerged from the dragon transformation seal, circled in the air, and rushed straight into the altar under Madame Mu's feet. "It's done." Looking at the altar with all the runes showing, and the spiritual light shining, Madame Mu couldn't help but say with joy, "Haha, that's right. It's worth it for this saint ancestor to waste his magic energy and confuse this person's mind." At this moment, a familiar charming female voice came into the ears of Madame Mu and others, instantly making their faces stiffen and their bodies shiver. "Junior brother, what are you doing?" Hua Xianqi stared at the black-faced monk who acted like a daughter, his heart full of fear. Chapter 702, The 9th Floor and the Earth Ball. As if he had not heard Hua Xianqi's cry, the black-faced monk opened his mouth with bloodshot eyes, and a demonic energy with a strong smell of blood gushed out, and it sank directly into the magic circle on the ground. Suddenly, the dark demonic energy spread rapidly like a plague, and in the blink of an eye, the entire hall, except for the altar itself, was infected by the demonic energy. After the black-faced monk spit out this demonic energy, the whole person seemed to be drained of his energy and spirit, and his vitality quickly dissipated, and he fell limply to the ground. Not good. That witch wants to demonize the altar and go to the 9th floor alone. Seeing this, Madame Mu immediately guessed the plan of Yuan's soul division, and said with horror, "No, we must stop her." Madame Mu knew the serious consequences of the other party's successful plan, and decisively bit her tongue, and sprayed a mouthful of blood towards the dragon seal, trying to use this treasure to drive away the demonic energy. However, her cultivation was far from perfect. Even if she tried her best, she could not stop the demonic energy from approaching the altar. If this continued, the entire formation would be demonized and fall into the hands of Yuan's soul. Seeing that things were impossible, Madame Mu had no choice but to make a choice. Her eyes suddenly condensed, and she stretched out her hands to hold the dragon seal, and then pressed it hard, and actually printed the treasure on the altar. Suddenly, a huge suction force came, and Madame Mu's magic power poured out like a flood. At the same time, the spiritual light emitted by the altar suddenly surged, swallowing up the entire hall. The ground began to tremble again, but this time the source of the earthquake was not outside, but under the altar. with a tearing sound. The forbidden power that had been sealed for tens of thousands of years was detonated by Madame Liu, who was desperate. In the sealed space above the palace of the immortals, the fight between Luo Hong and the charming woman has come to an end. The giant beasts, transformed by the power of their respective spiritual treasures, are now incomplete. The body of the black wind giant dragon is full of pits and pits, and it can't even lock its own power. Countless wind blades with the power of space are flying randomly. The dragon-headed beast originally only had an outline, and now it has been worn down to the point of almost dissipating. Luo Hong is very guilty at this time. He doesn't know what kind of devastating consequences will be caused if such a huge power of heaven and earth gets out of control. However, according to the current situation, Luo Hong believes that he still has a little advantage. If he loses control, it will only be lost in Yuan's soul, and he only needs to bear a little aftermath. I hope that the exquisite demon body is strong enough. Asshole. You are definitely not an ordinary human cultivator, otherwise how can you have such a deep magic power? Yuan's soul is almost exhausted at this time, and the magic energy in his body is about to be exhausted. He immediately shouted in a very humiliating voice. But there was no fear or despair. After all, even if Luo Hong won, the remaining power of her magic could not seriously injure her. It was just that as the ancestor of the demon clan, it was very embarrassing to lose such a move. Just as the voice fell, a thick sword energy suddenly slashed out from the void near Lin Yunping, and immediately broke open a space channel about 10 feet wide. Then two shocking rainbows shot out from it, and after circling, two figures appeared. Brother Kimao. When Lin Yunping saw the green-robed scholar among them, she immediately exclaimed, and a look of surprise appeared on her face. It turned out that this person was Kimao Zenran of the Cheyenne Mo sect. Due to some interests between Cheyenne Holy Temple and Cheyenne Mo sect, Lin Yunping had asked the other party for help and borrowed his magic weapon to search for the whereabouts of Han Lao Mo, so they had some friendship with each other. Huh. Fairy Lin is also here? Kimao Zenran's face was deep and dark, and he asked in surprise when he saw Lin Yunping. Brother Kimao, now is not the time to reminisce about the past. May I ask where the two of you came from? Zuan Kingzi, a late Yuanying cultivator from Tai sect, was an old Taoist with white hair and red face, and he could not help but speak solemnly when he sensed the astonishing spiritual pressure in the distance. That charming woman was originally the demon sealed here, and has now been released by the ancient demon over there. And the one fighting with her is Daoist fellow Luo Hong Luo from Cheyenne. Lin Yunping knew that the situation was tense, so he answered concisely. They look like human cultivators. The spiritual pressure emitted by their magic weapons is so terrifying. They must be all Tangshan Ling Bao. Kimao Zenran frowned, stared at the horizon for a moment, and said with a look of surprise, if it weren't Tangshan Ling Bao, Zhu wouldn't be so embarrassed. Immortal Master Zhu noticed the movement here, and also escaped over, laughing at himself. Fortunately, after Luo Hong and Yuan's souls ran out of mana, the intensity of the fight between the two beasts dropped significantly, otherwise they would not have the time to gather and talk. Fellow Daoist Zuan Kingzi, what is the origin of that witch? Her magical powers are so powerful. Before entering Kunwu Mountain, Zuan Kingzi had dissuaded Master Zhu, but he did not take it seriously at the time. Now he thought that the other party must know some inside information. Brother Zhu, to be honest, that witch should be the soul of the ancient demon saint. It was not my wish to conceal it before, but I could not disobey my master's order. Zuan Kingzi immediately heard the anger in Master Zhu's words and said lightly, that's true. Uncle who has also told me not to spread the news of this demon as much as possible. In order to deal with this demon, I brought all 5 demon sealing rings inherited from the sect. Fellow Daoist Zuan Kingzi asked for the China Divine Sword of Tai sect, but unexpectedly, fellow Daoist Luo was able to defeat the ancient demon saint with his own strength. It was really surprising. Kimao Zenran looked at the battle in the distance. His eyes swept over the black wind flag and the water and fire bag were played respectively, and he couldn't help but flicker slightly, sighing. It would be best if fellow Daoist Luo took the lead. Brother Kimao, let's not sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Quickly help him and seal this demon first. After Zhu and Kingsley found that the black wind giant dragon was on the verge of collapse, he immediately called out to Zenran Kimaro, wanting to take advantage of Luo Hong's offensive to add insult to injury to the charming woman. However, a huge sound of cracking the ground suddenly came from the sky, and then dozens of milky white light pillars shot up into the sky, causing the entire sealed space on the 8th floor to shake violently, and a sharp buzzing sound was heard. Then, white light flashed everywhere in the sealed space, and everything began to distort and deform, as if this artificial space was about to collapse. Not good. Someone opened the seal of the 9th floor, and the entire sealed space is about to collapse. Seeing this scene, Kimaro Zenran couldn't help but screamed, and fear appeared on his face. The huge changes in the sealed space naturally disturbed Luo Hong. He was not very good at controlling the dragon-headed beast. At this time, the power of space was rioting, and the only connection was directly cut off. After losing Luo Hong's mana supply, the speed of the dragon-headed beast's disappearance suddenly accelerated. The illusory lines that outlined its body quickly faded, and the power of heaven and earth immediately overflowed on a large scale, stirring up a terrifying hole in the already unstable space. Moreover, this further accelerated the disappearance of the dragon-headed beast, forming a vicious cycle. The dried up sea of blood was the indelible impression left by the uncontrolled power of heaven and earth on Luo Hong. Although he was suffering from some backlash of his mana at the moment, he still endured the severe pain in his meridians, collected the water and fire 8 trigrams plate, and set up the escape light to escape from here. Although the charming woman was proud of her hidden gains, she also knew what the consequences would be if the power of heaven and earth lost control. So, she immediately did the same thing as Luo Hong, and flew away from the center of the storm with the black wind flag. At the same time, the dozens of milky white light pillars that shot up into the sky suddenly changed color, and became as black as ink. Then the light pillars grew larger and deformed, twisting and shaking like noodles dancing wildly, and finally seemed to collapse to the limit, and dozens of light threads were scattered, shooting in all directions. Wherever the dark light threads passed, the space was torn and cracked. It was like kicking a house that was already about to fall, and it immediately brought it to its end. At this moment, the dragon-headed beast, which had disappeared until only its head was left, suddenly roared, and a huge suction force spread out from it, pulling all the broken spaces to one point. Damn it, the collapse of the 8th layer space seal is exactly the same as the original space-time. Originally, Luo Hong would be doomed, even if he had great magical powers, if he encountered such a violent space collapse. Because normally, most of the space cracks that appeared at this time would throw him out of the interface, and only a very small number would let him stay in the human world, but it was unknown how far he would be teleported, and he might even be directly on the endless sea. However, this time the space collapse was caused by the prohibition, and secondly, the outer seal of the demon suppression tower was still there, so each space crack would only lead to the 9th floor of the demon suppression tower. The 9th floor is the lowest floor of the demon suppression tower, where a large amount of true demon energy is sealed, enough for Yuan's soul to use it to open the anti-demon channel leading to the demon world. We must not let the saint ancestor break the seal of the 9th floor, otherwise we really won't be able to fight. Luo Hong said to himself with a serious look, and immediately looked for a suitable space crack. Soon, he found a space crack that could be passed through, and then he took the initiative to drill in without saying a word. He only saw a flash of black light, and the endless darkness swallowed Luo Hong in. Fortunately, he knew what was going on, so he didn't panic at all. Using powerful magic power to resist the space wind in the crack, after a moment, accompanied by a slight dizziness, light reappeared in front of his eyes, and his figure was in the sky at a height of 100 feet. Luo Hong, who knew that he had to defend the 9th floor of the magic seal, hurriedly shook his head, got rid of the dizziness, and looked at the ground. It was seen that the so-called 9th floor of the demon suppression tower was also an independent space. In the center was an empty area of several miles in size, surrounded by yellow and white fog rolling around, making it impossible to see how wide this place was. Not far below him, there was a huge altar over 100 feet high, in a simple four-sided trapezoidal shape, carved with white jade, which was both magnificent and exquisite. Around the huge altar, there was another circle of tall stone pillars forming a magic circle, which firmly protected the altar. At this time, runes appeared on each stone pillar, and the spiritual light was generous. It was obviously in an activated state. I don't know if it has always been like this, or it was caused by Luo Hong's arrival. There is no doubt that the altar is the key to the 9th level seal. Just as Luo Hong was about to fly over, a space crack suddenly appeared hundreds of feet away, and the figure of a charming woman flew out of it. She obviously didn't expect Luo Hong to arrive at the 9th floor one step ahead. Seeing that he was escaping to the white jade altar in the center, she immediately showed an anxious look. There was not much magic energy left in her body. If she didn't replenish it, she would really be exhausted. Little monk, do you really want to fight to the death with this saint? Humph, are you anxious? Luo Hong was not moved at all by the charming woman's gritting teeth threat. He dodged a few times and fled to the sky above the white jade altar, then raised his head and looked directly at her. Just by looking at his eyes, the charming woman knew that if she wanted to get close to the white jade altar, she had to deal with him first. As a result of this delay, space cracks began to appear in this space, and cultivators flew out one by one. Among them was Han Laomo, who escaped to another sealed space on the 8th floor. He had just stabilized his body and the dizziness had not yet disappeared when he heard a strange shout. Fellow Daoist Luo, the seal here must not be lost. I'm a cultivator of Tai sect, and I'm willing to lend a helping hand to you. Senior brother Luo? Senior brother Luo has also come to the demon sealing tower! Exclamation mark. Han Li's heart moved, and he quickly scanned the surroundings, and soon his eyes fell on Luo Hong, who was half human and half demon at this time. Although Luo Hong's current appearance was somewhat inhuman, Han Li himself often used the spirit transformation talisman, so he was only slightly surprised for a moment and flew over. As soon as Zhu and Kingzi finished speaking, he and Kimao Zenran came to the white jade altar together, posing as if they were going to fight the demon together. But at this moment, a special space crack appeared 100 feet above the three people's heads. Compared with the ordinary long space cracks, this space crack was actually a smooth round shape, which immediately attracted Luo Hong's attention. The next moment, Luo Hong saw a dark yellow soil ball drilled out of it, and then fell down in a free fall. After just a moment of stunnedness, Luo Hong's eyes widened and reacted, so he withdrew without thinking, just in time to meet Han Laomo. Luo Hong's abnormal behavior immediately made Zhu and Kingzi and Kimao Zenran frown, and they subconsciously thought that Luo Hong didn't want to be on the front line anymore. Fortunately, in the next moment, the two's consciousness captured the falling fist-sized earth yellow ball. In the spiritual sense, the breath of this earth ball was very strange, and Zhu and Kingzi and the others did not recognize it immediately. However, their hands moved very quickly, and they all used their magic weapons at the same time, and blasted towards it. After all, in their opinion, the white jade altar under them was extremely important, and they must not let a strange earth ball get close to it. Stop. Don't touch it. Luo Hong hurriedly reminded them when he saw this, but in the end, he could not match the speed of their magic weapons. Chapter 703 Ling Lang's True Body. A green long sword and a black hammer wrapped in rich spiritual energy flew out from the hands of the two men, trying to destroy the yellow earth ball. However, with just a slight touch, the two late nascent soul cultivators suddenly spit out blood. Their magic weapons seemed to be made of mud. Not to mention resisting the yellow earth ball, they wailed at the same time after just one encounter, and then broke into dozens of pieces. The yellow earth ball continued to fall without being moved. Zhu and Kingzi and Kimao Zenran, who had suffered a great loss, dared not take any risks, and immediately turned into a light, and fled away from the white jade altar. Brother Luo, the breath of this thing. Han Li, who had experienced the blood sea change with Luo Hong, saw this scene and immediately realized the origin of the yellow earth ball. He couldn't help but stared and exclaimed, "What bad luck, it actually fell on the altar." Brother Han, do you still have the 10,000-year spiritual milk? Lend me a few drops first. As the indirect creator of the yellow earth ball, Luo Hong naturally recognized it at a glance. This thing is nothing else but the product of the loss of control of the power of heaven and earth. Although it is only the size of a fist, it condenses the entire mass of the sealed space. Even with Luo Hong's magical power, he dare not stop its movement. In fact, with the volume of the power of heaven and earth in the dragon-headed beast, even if it is out of control, it cannot swallow the entire sealed space. After all, it is not the treasure of heaven and earth itself that has a problem. But it is a coincidence that when it is out of control, the rampage of the transmission restriction just happened to tear the entire sealed space apart, which aggravated the consequences of losing control. With the current trajectory of the yellow earth ball, it is bound to hit the white jade altar head on. Luo Hong can foresee that this unfortunate seal will be damaged if not destroyed. He must recover his magic power as soon as possible to deal with the upcoming fierce battle. There are still 3 drops in this bottle. Harley saw that Luo Hong's face was extremely solemn, and he did not dare to be negligent at the moment, and immediately threw out a jade bottle. After receiving it, Luo Hong did not hesitate at all. He raised his head and drank all 3 drops of the 10,000-year spirit milk. Suddenly, his nearly dried danshan began to surge with strong mana. Within a few breaths, his mana was restored to about 80%. At this moment, the yellow earth ball finally hit the white jade altar. There was a loud bang. First, hundreds of tall stone pillars surrounding the white jade altar collapsed one after another, and then the entire space began to shake violently. The runes on the white jade altar even emitted a dazzling spiritual light as bright as the sun. Such a huge movement, it seemed as if this space was also going to follow the footsteps of the 8th layer of sealed space. The yellow earth ball condensed the mass of the entire sealed space, and the white jade altar was also the core of the 9th layer. With the help of the array runes, it had merged with the 9th layer. So, to a certain extent, the smash of the yellow earth ball was equivalent to the collision of 2 man-made caves. Fortunately, this huge movement of the earth-shattering sky came and went quickly. After a few breaths, the space on the 9th floor stabilized, and the spiritual light on the white jade altar quickly faded. At this time, Luo Hong hurriedly looked over and saw that the yellow soil ball was embedded in the center of the altar, with less than 1/10 of it exposed. The entire altar was now covered with cracks, and wisps of black hair were coming out of these cracks. Fortunately, it has withstood it. It's still acceptable if it's not completely destroyed. Luo Hong quietly breathed a sigh of relief. If the seal was directly smashed, the true demon energy below would directly soar into the sky, and there would be no need to fight it down. Although the seal is now damaged, and the true demon energy is leaking, there is still a glimmer of hope. Ha ha ha. God really helps this saint ancestor. It seems that your fate in the human world has run out. Prepare to die. The charming woman sensed the leaked true demon energy at the first time, and immediately laughed with ecstasy on her face. Then, she pretended to take a deep breath, and 2 black auras emerged from the void and entered her nose. With just 1 breath, black flames ignited on her body, which was a sign that the demonic energy in her body was very full. Not good. This demon is going to use my demon body. Quickly find a way to stop her. As if sensing a special aura, a snow white fox head emerged from Han Leomo's chest and shouted in horror. Haha, it turns out that Ling Lang's other half of the soul is in you. No wonder you ran so fast at that time. That's right. You should know how powerful the demon body of the Silver Moon Wolf clan is without me telling you. I originally wanted to save some mana and only use the Black Wind flag to deal with you, but you, a little cultivator, have given me endless surprises, and I don't plan to give you any more chances. With the support of countless true demon energy under this seal, I can drive this wolf demon body at will, and none of you can escape. The charming woman showed a little surprise when she saw the silver moon, and then said with undisguised murderous intent. As soon as the voice fell, the woman exhaled lightly, pinched several magic formulas with her hands, and was immediately wrapped in a ball of silver light. The light was dazzling, as if there was a silver sun in the sky, making it impossible to look directly at it. The next moment, a wolf howl that pierced the sky came out of the silver light, followed by a powerful and abnormal spiritual pressure that descended from nowhere, making all the cultivators feel cold. The entire 9th floor of the space was disturbed by this powerful spiritual pressure, and it made waves of buzzing sounds. The earth was also shaking violently, and cracks of varying lengths appeared. At this time, the silver light suddenly increased, becoming dozens of times larger than before, and then suddenly the light was reduced, and a two-headed silver wolf, that looked like a mountain appeared. The two wolf heads were one black and one silver. The silver eyes were closed and slightly drooped, as if they were asleep, while the black one was wide open with fangs bared, exuding an extremely strong killing intent. Looking at the two-headed silver wolf's foreclaws that looked like huge blades, and the two heads that were as big as buildings, and the incredibly powerful spiritual pressure. At this moment, whether it was Yi Zheng and other cultivators who had been involved for a long time, or Zhuan Qingzi and Qimao Zhenren who had just arrived, they all took a breath of cold air, and felt unable to resist. It's hard to bear. Luo Hong frowned and looked at Zhuan Qingzi and the other two who had been seriously injured before opening the gourd. He couldn't help but sigh, and then turned to Han Lao Emma beside him and said, "This soul-raising gourd contains Long Meng's soul. I believe that fellow Daoist Yunyu knows how to deal with it. I will hold it for a while." After throwing out the soul-raising gourd, Luo Hong didn't say anything nonsense, and immediately turned into a golden light, to meet the two-headed silver wolf. The white jade altar must not be damaged again. He must take the initiative, to attack and meet the enemy. When the golden light like a grain of rice met the huge two-headed silver wolf, everyone couldn't help but think of the four words a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Chapter 704, Soul Fusion and Borrowing Technique. Compared to the people who were watching the show, and unfortunately lost their lives, Luo Hong was actually very clear about the other intention of the charming woman using her exquisite real body at this time. Although the magic power was mainly consumed in the spiritual treasure fight just now, in order to drive such a huge force, a lot of spiritual consciousness was also lost. Although the charming woman recovered a lot of magic power by devouring the true demon energy, the loss of spiritual consciousness could not be replenished in a short time. It would be extremely unwise to use the Black Wind flag at this time. Similarly, Luo Hong also lost a lot of spiritual consciousness in the fight, so the most sensible response for him now is to use his physical body to fight the enemy. You are just a grain of rice, and you dare to compete with the bright moon. Go to hell. Seeing that Luo Hong still dared to resist, the two-headed silver wolf could not help but spit out a mouthful of black magic energy at him in anger. Because his body was too big, it was just a simple move, but it also showed overwhelming power. At this moment, a loud eagle cry resounded through the fields, and the terrifying spiritual pressure descended again. Although it was far less powerful than the two-headed silver wolf, it also made everyone's heart sink. In the golden spiritual light, Luo Hong's half-human half-demon body suddenly swelled up, and in the blink of an eye it became dozens of times taller, and it seemed to be growing wildly without limit. Law of heaven and earth. It's unbelievable that a Cheyenne cultivator would have such magical powers. Zhuan Qingzi and Qimao Zhenren exclaimed, then looked at each other, and regained their confidence. After the two took out several pills and swallowed them, they flew to catch up with Luo Hong, ready to lend a helping hand at the critical moment. On the other side, the immortal master surnamed Zhu looked at Luo Hong, who was hundreds of feet tall, with his feet on the ground and his head in the sky, and couldn't help but feel a sour tooth, regretting that he had offended him rashly before. Damn, this human cultivator is much stronger than the last time I met him. I must help the holy ancestor. The blood flame ancient demon was also greatly shocked at this moment, but he deeply hated Luo Hong for taking his demon body, so he was not too afraid at the moment, and was still thinking about using a trick on Luo Hong. However, before he could make any move, Ji Yuiling had already blocked in front of him, holding a metal stick, and looking at him grimly. Then, a crackling sound sounded behind him, and it turned out to be Han Lao Mo, who was wrapped in golden lightning. Ancient demon, if you want to disturb my senior brother, you must get through Han first. After that, the wind and thunder wings behind Han Lao Mo roared, and forced the blood flame ancient demon to approach. Great Elder, the current situation is turbid and unclear. Where should we go? The square-faced cultivator who followed Yi Zheng closely saw the chaotic situation, and couldn't help but ask. However, Yi Zheng was also undecided at this time. If he said he was helping the devil to do evil, he was afraid that the Yi family would be liquidated in the future. If he said he was eliminating the devil and defending the way, he was afraid of the great power of the ancient devil saint. Let's wait and see. Before the winner is determined, we must not act rashly. Yi Zheng's words seemed to say nothing, but he also expressed his attitude and chose to be a fence sitter. On the other side, Madame Mu and Huashian Qi and others were now as hen. The former was, because he saw the white jade altar destroyed, and the hope of reinforcing the seal with the dragon seal was completely dashed. Then he thought that the true devil's vitality would leak out, and the 10,000-year foundation of the immortal sect would be shattered. The latter Huashian Qi was much simpler. He simply gave up the desire to find the treasure, and was sad about the death of the black-faced monk. The monks on the 9th floor had their own thoughts and actions, but these had nothing to do with Luo Hong. He doesn't have the great magical power of the law of heaven and earth. He can make his body so huge that it is almost the same as the two-headed silver wolf. It is all due to Xiaojin's innate magical power of transformation. In the state of fusion, Luo Hong can borrow Xiaojin's magical power, such as the formless golden light and the magical power of transformation. Although this can greatly increase the strength of his physical body, it will also greatly increase the consumption of the formless fusion talisman, so Luo Hong must hurry up now. Although the true demon energy has extremely powerful magical power, it cannot threaten Luo Hong, as long as it does not touch the body. After his body became bigger, the demon energy, that was originally overwhelming, became a small ball. He just waved his sleeves and the wind mixed with pure spiritual energy blew it away. Then, Luo Hong took a step, stomping on the ground with a booming sound, and ran towards the two-headed silver wolf. During this period, the red gold crystal armor quickly covered Luo Hong's whole body, and the mana that had just been replenished fell to the warning line again. But in order to suppress Yuan's soul, Luo Hong could not care about so much, and could only do his best. Damn it. You actually have a backup plan. It's just a pity that this saint ancestor will not give you any chance this time. Amid the roar, a black light as dark as ink emerged from the black wolf head, instantly enveloping the giant wolf. Then, as if receiving a unified command, it flashed and disappeared into the huge wolf body. Immediately, the silver wolf's originally silver fur turned from bright to dark, and except for the other silver wolf head, the rest of the body turned black. Demonized body. She has completed the demonized body. Yenyu couldn't help but exclaimed at this, her eyes flashing, as if she had made some kind of decision. After performing this hidden method, the aura of the two-headed silver wolf rose again, and everyone changed their color more or less, but Luo Hong's eyes remained unchanged. Seeing that the red gold giant transformed by Luo Hong was approaching, the two-headed black wolf pounced out without showing weakness, and its two front paws ejected snow-white claws and swung at Luo Hong's chest. The black wolf head also opened its bloody mouth and bit Luo Hong's neck fiercely. In this lightning moment, Luo Hong did not make any extra movements. A layer of black light covered his raised right fist, as if he was wearing a glove, and the Kyankan pearl also emerged. No matter how many ways you come, I will only go one way. With a flash of thought, the two huge figures collided fiercely. The next moment, a spring of blood spurted out of Luo Hong's chest, and his red gold crystal armor could not resist the claws of the two-headed black wolf at all. However, the two-headed black wolf did not get any benefit, and was hit hard on the head by Luo Hong's right fist. Although the wolf head was hard, and did not break under Luo Hong's full strength attack, it also stunned it. Otherwise, the two wolf claws would have slashed Luo Hong open. After the first round of collision, Luo Hong could not bear the force of the attack, and took 2 steps back. The two-headed black wolf was also hit by Luo Hong, and fell to the ground with a loud bang. It shook its head, and staggered to get up with difficulty. With the advantage of the first move brought by the serious chest injury, Luo Hong took a step forward and instantly approached the two-headed black wolf. He stretched out his hand to grab the black wolf head and smashed it hard to the ground. With 2 loud booms, the two-headed black wolf fell into a dizzy state again, but at this time Luo Hong did not pursue the victory, but lifted up the huge body of the two-headed black wolf by the waist. Chapter 705. Joining forces to eliminate demons. Although Luo Hong seemed to have the upper hand at this time, he could not turn the advantage into victory due to the difference in hard power. Luo Hong was clearly aware of this before the fight. The body of the Silver Moon Demon Wolf in the late stage of the spiritualization is extremely powerful, and there are countless true demon energy to replenish the mana consumption. Even if I stand and take the beating, I can't seriously injure it before the power of the Wuxiang Rangling Fu is exhausted. Only by using a strange trick can we win. In the original time and space, it was Linglang's Yuanshan who finally defeated Yuansha's soul. Although Luo Hong has handed Lang Meng's Yuanshan to Han Lao Mo, Yanayu. That is, Zuling knows what to do, but the butterfly effect he caused has messed up the original trajectory. At the moment, he really dared not put all the treasures on Linglang. Just when Luo Hong carried the two-headed black wolf, Luo Hong, who was hiding in the dark, suddenly appeared and stretched out his hand to sacrifice the heavenly demon flag. With a wave, the demons roared and resounded through the sky. Due to the huge difference in power, even Kimao Zenran of the Heavenly Demon sect could not recognize this inherited treasure at once. The rest of the people did not recognize the Heavenly Demon flag, nor did they know what Luo Hong was trying to do. However, the next moment, a huge grey hole broke through the void hundreds of feet in front of the red gold giant and appeared in front of everyone. The gate of the outer domain. Zuan Kingzi of Tai sect saw this and immediately showed a look of horror and then quickly reacted and said, Deo Luo, you can't. We can only suppress this demon, not kill her. However, Luo Hong ignored Zuan Kingzi's shouting and threw the two-headed black wolf towards the gate of the outer domain with all his strength. That's right, the way he came up with to defeat the enemy was to exile the two-headed black wolf to the outer domain. As for how sensitive Linglang's identity was, Luo Hong naturally knew it better than everyone present. Zuan Kingzi was worried that the outer demon would occupy Linglang's demon body and indirectly cause Linglang's physical body to fall. But he didn't know the identity of Luo Hong's demon son. As long as the outer demons helped them to solve the Yuansha soul, Luo Hong could easily get back the exquisite body. However, there was one thing that the two agreed on. That is, if the two-headed black wolf went to the outer domain, the Yuansha soul living in it would definitely have no way to survive. After all, in the outer domain, the number of outer demons is endless. They will eat up the Yuansha saint ancestor's soul like ants. Anyone who has a little knowledge of the interface can easily come to this conclusion, which of course includes the Yuansha soul itself. Wolf demons are known for their copperheads and weak waists, and the two-headed black wolf from the Silver Moon Wolf clan is even more so. In addition to the pain caused by Luo Hong's first punch, the subsequent throws only caused it to suffer some shock. Therefore, not long after Luo Hong threw it out, the two-headed black wolf regained consciousness. At this time, her back half had sunk into the outer gate, and it seemed that she would be exiled to the outer domain in the next moment. Roar. There was only a horrified roar. At this critical moment, the two front paws of the two-headed black wolf tightly grasped the edge of the outer door, completely ignoring the force of space that cut it into a bloody mess, and tried to get out of the outer door. Two Taoist friends, help Luo quickly, don't hesitate if you don't want to die. Luo Hong knew that it was the last moment, and whether it could succeed depended on this round of offensive. He immediately called everyone to join him without any martial ethics. Deo Zuan Kingzi, don't hesitate any longer, save your life first. Kimao Zenran knew that, if he couldn't complete the task in one battle, his life would be in danger. At this time, he didn't care about Uleo Mo's explanation, and took out 5 emerald green rings with his palms. Then, he chanted spells in his mouth, and his 10 fingers popped out with after images, and one spell after another fell on the rings. Suddenly, the 5 emerald green rings began to make strange noises, and the spiritual light began to flicker. At the same time, Zuan Kingzi, who was standing by, also made up his mind with a fixed gaze. He raised his white long sword with a sway of his Taoist robe. As soon as the sword appeared, it cleared away the surrounding demonic energy. The sword body trembled and pointed at the two-headed black wolf, as if it could not wait to fly out to destroy the demon. Demon Banning Ring. Shiana Divine Sword. Yuansha's soul was very familiar with these two ancient treasures that could defeat demons. As soon as he sensed their aura, he recognized them. As soon as the exclamation fell, Kimao Zenran in the air had finished casting the spell. He pointed at one of the emerald rings with one hand and shouted solemnly, "Banned." Suddenly, the emerald ring emitted a dazzling spiritual light and disappeared from the spot in just a flash. The next moment, a clear cry suddenly came from the top of the black wolf head, and a stream of emerald light escaped from the void, then quickly circled around the neck of the black wolf head, and instantly turned into a giant ring. At this time, the rune on the giant ring flashed, and it suddenly shrank, whooped the black wolf head, and made his eyes glare. Seeing that the magic forbidden ring lived up to its reputation, Kimayo Zenran hurriedly struck, while the iron was hot, and sacrificed the remaining 4 emerald rings at the same time, and put them on the limbs of the 2-headed black wolf. Cut. With a loud shout, Zuan Kingzi also took this opportunity to sacrifice the Shiner divine sword with all his strength. The snow white sword light split the black demonic energy and chopped straight towards the neck of the black wolf head like a flash of lightning. However, at this moment, the black wolf head roared like crazy, and the muscles in his neck exerted force, and he actually propped up the magic forbidden ring, and spit out circles of black ripples from his mouth. These ripples were silent, but their power was amazing. After covering the 5 giant emerald rings, they were shattered into pieces in just a few flashes, and turned into nothing. At the same time, an inconspicuous black light shot out, and headed straight for the Shiner divine sword. With a crisp click sound, the Shiner divine sword was hit hard by a hard object, and several cracks appeared on the sword. At this time, the black light also revealed its true form. It was half a foot long, a little curved, like half a sharp crescent blade. But as long as you look closely, you can find that it is a sharp wolf claw. But I don't know what means the 2-headed black wolf used to make it 3 times more powerful than the Shiner divine sword. After quickly dealing with the 2 annoying flies, the 2-headed black wolf turned his eyes to Luo Hong, who was punching him again. With resentment in his eyes, he swung his right claw violently, shooting out 4 claws several dozen feet long, heading straight for Luo Hong's face. Facing this delaying method, Luo Hong simply raised his left arm to block his face, then took a step forward without stopping and punched out. Just as the red gold giant fist was about to fall on the black wolf's head again, a dark light suddenly flashed on the 2-headed black wolf, and then disappeared without a trace. It turned out that Yuan's soul restored itself to a human body in an instant, thus cleverly dodged Luo Hong's punch. Chapter 706 Fatal Accident. The charming woman reappeared, but she was no longer wearing the tight black robe she had worn before, but a layer of hideous armor. This armor was shiny black, with a double-horned ghost head engraved on the front, and several black thorns about a foot long protruding from the shoulders and limbs, flashing a sinister cold light. This was the real devil armor condensed with the real devil energy. Luo Hong knew that the appearance of this armor meant that Yuan's soul had refined enough real devil energy and could use a mark in the soul to transmit thoughts across the world, so she was immediately very anxious. At this critical moment of life and death, Luo Hong didn't have time to think too much, and immediately pinched out a spell with one hand, and the vertical eye between the eyebrows suddenly opened wide, revealing a demon eye with a black bottom blood pupil. The next moment, a flash of blood appeared in the blood raw eye, and a blood-colored light column shot out, covering the charming woman in it. At this moment, the charming woman felt that the blood in her body was stagnant, and there was a sign of reverse flow, so she hurriedly urged her magic power to suppress it. To outsiders, it was the sudden stiffness of the charming woman's figure. Taking advantage of this last opportunity, Luo Hong's right fist, which had not yet been extended, loosened immediately, and slapped the charming woman with the power of heaven and earth. Obviously, he was trying to slap the charming woman into the domain gate. Unfortunately, the realm was too far apart, and Luo Hong's efforts were soon wasted under the angry eyes of the charming woman. A black devil's claw several acres in size appeared out of thin air, and it repelled Luo Hong's right palm with one palm, and a large piece of red gold crystal armor shattered and turned into a little spiritual light. After failing again, Luo Hong sighed dejectedly and released the magical power of physical transformation in a brilliant golden light. When the golden light faded, a golden shadow popped out from Luo Hong's back. This golden shadow was Xiaojin, and the Wuxiang wrangling talisman on his back had become dim and lightless, and was blown by the wind, and turned into dust and flew away. At this time, Luo Hong's chest and left arm were all covered in blood, and black light was hidden in the creepy claw marks, preventing the wound from healing. This kind of injury cannot be healed by magical powers before dispelling the alien aura at the wound. Although Xiaojin on the other side was better, he was also seriously injured, or it was because Xiaojin took part of the injury that Luo Hong was able to maintain his mobility now. Xiaojin, go back to the spirit beast bag first. We should find a way to escape. After sending out a divine thought, Luo Hong met up with the black-robed Luo Hong who came over. He had already used all his means, but now he couldn't win. He had no choice but to use the heavenly demon flag to escape to the outside world. If possible, he wanted to take Han Leomo with him. After all, as long as Han Leomo was alive, there was still hope. And just when Luo Hong was running away, the charming woman played her biggest trump card as he expected. Amidst the excitement of surviving a catastrophe, the charming woman emitted waves of black demonic energy like a giant python, interweaving and condensing in the air. After rolling for a while, a huge black demon statue was condensed. The demon statue was 20 to 30 feet tall, equivalent to a 7 or 8 story building. It had a plump and attractive figure, and was wearing the same armor as the charming woman. However, the demon statue's face was very delicate, unlike the charming woman's charming and elegant face. It had a pair of exquisite short horns on its head and its eyes were closed at this time. Damn it, she still summoned it. The Yuansha Saint Ancestor's interboundary demonic thoughts. No, I can't take Han Leomo with me. I must run away immediately. Luo Hong was very self-aware. He knew that he would definitely become the first target of Yuansha's interboundary demonic thoughts, so he didn't hesitate at all and wanted to close the extraterritorial door behind the charming woman and open another one near him. As for Han Leomo, he could only believe that Linglan would be able to move everything back to the original track after his birth. As soon as Luo Hong made a move, the black golem slowly opened its eyes. Its eyes were like two purple stars in the endless night sky, beautiful and evil. Then she looked around in confusion and said slowly, "Is this the human world?" Although her voice was clean, it made people feel an inexplicable chill, as if a small animal heard the roar of its natural enemy. The divine thoughts in the compartment. This is the true divine thoughts of the Saint Ancestor Yuansha. After Zuan Kingsley recognized the golem, he felt his hands and feet cold and shouted with despair on his face. This shout immediately made all the cultivators change their faces. Among them, Yi Zheng and others had the biggest reaction. He actually attacked the immortal Master Zhu on the side and completely fell to the side of the ancient demon. Zuan Kingsley and Kimao Zenran were both pale at this time. They knew that, even if the two sex divine transformation cultivators came here, they would probably find it difficult to compete with the power of this golem. However, Yuansha's interworld demonic thoughts did not care about the reaction of a group of small insects. He did not even look at the people in the air, but slowly lowered his head to look at the charming woman under him. The charming woman also looked up, and after their eyes met for a moment, the demon statue spoke first. "Very good, you are alive today, and it is worth it that this saint ancestor spent so much effort to send you to the human world. This time, you cast a spell to summon this saint ancestor. Is it just to deal with these ants in front of you? Don't you think it's too wasteful to consume the true demon energy in this way? You should know that this is your last chance to summon this saint ancestor. After this time, the soul seal that this saint ancestor planted in your mind will completely dissipate. I'm you, and you should also know that, if there is really no other way, how can I resort to this desperate measure? My cultivation has fallen sharply now. I can only summon you with the help of the true demon energy under the altar." The charming woman suddenly became very calm and explained in a calm tone. "So that's why it's so hard to get to the lower world this time. It turns out that you borrowed external forces. Then it seems that this saint ancestor has to act quickly. If you call this saint ancestor here like this, it won't last long." The giant golem said lightly and was about to take action, but was stopped by the charming woman. "Wait, let's put others aside for now and kill the human cultivator over there first. His spiritual flame can transform the true demon energy into spiritual energy. We must kill him first." "Oh, is that so? He should be killed first, but you should keep his spiritual flame for this saint ancestor and give it to the saint ancestor when you return to the demon world in the future." Hearing this, the black golem swept his cold and ruthless purple eyes and then stared at Luo Hong with a little surprise, which made him feel cold. Then, the corner of the giant golem's mouth moved slightly, as if he was chanting some spell, and then he raised one hand and stretched out a magic finger to point at Luo Hong. Luo Hong certainly knew what he was going to face, but for some reason, something went wrong with the heavenly demon flag, and he was unable to close the outer door behind the charming woman, causing his plan to flee to fail. Damn it. Damn it. He didn't have to be so unlucky. Chapter 707, Wandering Kunpeng. Seeing that there was no hope of escape, Luo Hong immediately sent out all the spell talismans he had made over the years. Dozens of pink talisman papers flew out like wings, forming a round shield in front of him. The giant golem ignored Luo Hong's actions and just flicked his finger lightly. A piercing sound suddenly sounded, and a residual image flew out. In just a moment, the spell talisman round shield in front of Luo Hong burst open, and a milky white beam the size of a broad bean appeared in the pink aura. Soul-destroying talismans? There are so many. The giant golem frowned, dissatisfied that she could not kill with one blow. With a thought, the milky white bead disappeared. Then, she turned her palm over and grabbed Luo Hong through the air. Suddenly, a demon claw several feet long appeared out of thin air above Luo Hong's head. Before he could use his escape technique to escape, a series of black demonic energy-like chains strangely entangled his body, leaving him with nothing but helpless eyes as the demon claws approached him. At the critical moment, a layer of black and red spiritual flame suddenly emerged from Luo Hong's body, instantly burning the demonic energy chains to ashes. Then, with a flash of her body, she finally escaped again. The huge golem couldn't help but show an angry look after repeatedly failing. She snorted coldly, and crystal light flashed between her 5 fingers, as if she was about to use some more powerful magical power. But at this moment, several silver rays flew from the side, exploding groups of white light on the huge golem. It turned out that someone was carrying the huge golem's mighty power and attacking it. The huge golem was slightly stunned, then turned his head to look to the side, and saw a graceful figure standing in the air thousands of feet away. This woman had silver hair, 2 furry animal ears on her head, and wore a snow-white dress. Her appearance was very similar to that of the charming woman. However, although both were equally beautiful, the latter made people feel charming, while the former made people dare not have the intention to play with her. Silver Moon Wolf Clan. What is your relationship with the old wolf Aozao? Surprisingly, the giant golem did not immediately attack the silver-haired woman who offended her, but asked with narrowed eyes, "Ancestor Aozao is the ancestor of our family." The silver-haired woman replied with a stern face, "So that's how it is. Since you are the descendant of that old wolf, this saint ancestor can't bully the weak. Retreat quickly and swear not to interfere with this saint ancestor's soul division in this world, and this saint ancestor will spare your life." For some reason, the giant golem actually planned to let the silver-haired woman go. "Let me go. Humph, Saint Ancestor Yuansha, you are too arrogant." Your divine consciousness came from across the realm. With just this little bit of leaked true demon energy, the strength you can exert is not even 1/10 of your original body. Why should I leave? The silver-haired woman obviously did not intend to appreciate it, and said bluntly. Upon hearing this, the giant golem's face suddenly sank. His eyes showed anger, and he said coldly, "You are just a descendant of the god transformation. How dare you speak nonsense in front of this saint ancestor? In this case, this saint ancestor will destroy your soul here today. Then it depends on whether the saint ancestor has the ability to do so." The silver-haired woman was not afraid at all. After she finished speaking, she opened her mouth and sprayed out a palm-sized disc from between her 2 fragrant lips. The disc was originally pitch black, but as soon as it was sacrificed, a little starlight emerged from it, which looked extremely mysterious. Anti-star disc. The giant golem was startled at first, then showed a solemn look, and did not hesitate to use all his strength. The 5 fingers opened, and made a kai-kai sound of breaking through the air. Countless crystal rays that seemed to be real shot out from its palms, like colorful light rain, covering most of the sky. On the other side, Luo Hong, who finally breathed a sigh of relief, met Han Lao Mo who had killed Zuyan. "Brother Luo, that woman is the fusion of Yanu and Longmeng. She calls herself Princess Linglang. She asked us to repair the stone pillar formation around the altar, which can temporarily prevent the leakage of the true demon's vitality." Harley took the task of Linglang and immediately came to Luo Hong. He knew that no one could beat his brother in formation. "Okay. We will start right away." After Luo Hong responded briefly, he wanted to transmit his thoughts to the incarnation, asking it to disguise itself as him, so that he could act smoothly. But at this time, the incarnation transmitted his thoughts first, and said in a very anxious tone, "Not good. The heavenly demon flag seems to be destroyed." What? Luo Hong was shocked, and immediately looked in the direction of the incarnation. Because there was a problem with the heavenly demon flag, which cut off Luo Hong's escape route. The incarnation had been trying hard to find a solution since just now. But after his efforts, the heavenly demon flag not only did not return to normal, but the extraterritorial demons in the flag actually exploded, and died on a large scale, as if they were burst from the inside by some behemoth. King Feng, what's going on? Luo Hong asked hurriedly. Sir, find a place to hide quickly. King Feng did not answer, but reminded in a sharp voice. Hide? Where to hide? This ghost place is flat except for a white jade altar. Just when Luo Hong was in doubt, suddenly a spiritual pressure like the might of heaven descended, which made him, a cultivator in the late nascent soul stage, feel breathless. I saw that from the outer door with a diameter of hundreds of feet, which Luo Hong could not close, a bird sky-high claw stretched out. This giant claw was green all over, hundreds of feet long, and it grabbed the huge golem like a mountain. However, at the same time when this claw stretched out from the outer door, countless white jade chains covered with silver tadpoles emerged from the void and entangled it tightly, which made the speed of this claw's extension slow down suddenly, and it seemed very strenuous. But even so, the huge spiritual power on the giant claw had already caused the ninth layer of space to tremble, the earth to crack, and countless cracks and hundreds of raised earth mountains of hundreds of feet appeared in the blink of an eye. Such a huge change that shook the world really scared everyone. Except for Ling Lang and the giant golem, the other cultivators could not resist the huge spiritual pressure, and they lifted the flying technique and fell to the ground. Brother, what on earth is that? But looking at this giant claw, you can imagine how huge the body of this monster bird is. Han Lao Mo couldn't imagine how powerful it was. He was shocked at this moment. It's Yaoshan Kunpeng. How did we summon it? It's really deadly. Luo Hong immediately understood the reason why the heavenly demon flag was out of control. This true spirit must have been observing outside the domain for a while, until the breath leaked when the Yuansha Saint ancestor's divine consciousness burst out with all his strength. It aroused its interest. Kunpeng? Han Lao Mo's eyes widened, and he couldn't believe his ears. It's too late to explain. Although this big guy's target is not us, it can wipe us out of this world with a casual blow. Immediately follow me to set up the formation. Luo Hong spoke quickly as he took out 3 array plates and filled them with the 3 top grade spirit stones. After handing one of them to Han Lao Mo, Luo Hong found that there was still a person missing to control the array. The incarnation of practicing magic would only make things worse. Fortunately, he glanced and found a familiar figure. Without saying a word, he activated the power of heaven and earth and pulled the flying figure over. Ah! Who sneaked up on me? With a cry, Lin Yunping fell in front of Luo Hong and the others. Calm down, fellow Daoist Lin. See who I am. In order to save time, Luo Hong used a mind-stunning spell while shouting, and instantly stopped Lin Yunping's attack. Fellow Daoist Luo, what are you doing? The immortal master surnamed Zhu was seriously injured by Yi Zheng's sneak attack. Lin Yunping had been chased by the Yi family cultivators just now, and now he became a frightened bird. Don't talk nonsense, do as I say, if you want to live, and cooperate with Luo and junior brother Han to activate the formation. Luo Hong had no mercy on the weak and roughly stuffed a formation plate into Lin Yunping's hand. While Luo Hong was struggling to save her life, the giant golem had already recovered from her shock. The fatal sense of crisis made her turn her wrist without thinking, driving the large piece of crystal light rain back, and attacking the giant green claw with amazing power. However, the magical power displayed by the giant golem with all its strength could not leave a trace on the giant green claw, and the countless crystal lights shattered with a bang bang sound. Although it was unscathed, the giant golem still angered the giant green claw. I saw that a series of green electric arcs as thick as dragons appeared on the giant claw, and gathered in the claw along the 4 claws to form a green thunderball with a diameter of more than 100 feet. Sensing the terrifying spiritual pressure in the thunderball, the giant golem couldn't help but smile bitterly. With a wave of his arms, he attracted countless true demon energy, which gathered into a black magic ball to wrap up the charming woman under him. As for Zhu and Kingsley and others, they felt that a disaster was coming and death was approaching. They either collapsed on the ground in despair or struggled desperately. Zhu and Kingsley showed a crazy look on his face and offered several boundary-breaking talismans in succession, trying to leave the 9th layer of space. However, for some reason, the space suddenly became more stable than fine steel and could not be shaken at all. Yi Zheng also gave up chasing the monk surnamed Zhu and offered the 8-spirit ruler he had just obtained, trying to protect himself with the power of the Tangshan spirit treasure. On the ground, covered by yellow fog, Luo Hong had taken 2 drops of the 10,000-year spirit milk and offered the array plate in his hand together with Han Lao Mo and Yun Linping. 3 dark light beams shot out from the 3 array plates, and after connecting with each other, a circle of dark light curtain was formed, covering the area of 10 miles. This 3 tribulation thunder array was Luo Hong's means of saving his life this time. Taking advantage of the last time, he flicked his 10 fingers and cast dozens of spells, causing the array plate in his hand to slowly rotate. Then, the runes on the dark light curtain flowed, shrinking dozens of times at a very fast speed, from covering an area of 10 miles to a diameter of only 50 feet. The shrinkage of the dark light curtain made it more condensed and more able to resist the coming natural disaster. Just as Luo Hong breathed a sigh of relief, a beam of light suddenly flew over, passing through the dark light curtain and coming to the center of the array. After the light dissipated, 2 figures appeared, one of which was the exquisite fairy, and the other was Lankea, who was caught in her hand. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 708, Kunpeng True Thunder. As for Madame Mu, she had long disappeared in the chaos. So Linglang did not go to rescue her and could only hope for the best. Luo Hong did not care about the extra 2 people for nothing. After all, Lang Meng was seriously injured and Linglang must be relying on Zuling, that is, Yin Yu, at this time, so there would be no problem. The same was true for Lankea. As soon as they set up the 3 tribulations thunder formation, the giant thunder bull in the green claws shot out, not targeting the Yuansha demon statue, but flying to the sky above the white jade altar, which was the center of the 9th layer of space. After a loud noise that shook the sky and cracked the earth, the green thunder ball with a diameter of more than 100 feet suddenly exploded. For a moment, the green electric snakes and thunder dragons filled the entire space, and the extreme green light filled every inch of the corner. The white jade altar was the first to be hit, and was instantly smashed into pieces by the mad thunder. The true demon energy suppressed below was about to rush out, but was violently poured into by the green thunder. The huge demon statue transformed by the divine consciousness of the Saint Yuansha helped the charming woman block the impact of the first wave of green thunder, and then turned into black demonic energy again, and merged into the rapidly dissolving demonic ball. When she saw the thunder ball condensed by the giant green claws, she had already recognized the opponent's footsteps. Yaoshan Kunpeng was a true spirit, and his true body might be a little more powerful than his original body. Yuansha would naturally not let his divine consciousness be lost in vain, and at the moment he had no choice but to abandon the car to save the general. As for Zhu and Kingsley, Yi Zheng and others, after being submerged by the green lightning, they either screamed or heard a light puff sound. But without exception, they all quickly fell silent. On the ground, the diffuse yellow fog had long been swept away. The black shield condensed by the 3 tribulations thunder array was like a small boat in a storm. Every time a thick thunder python swept over, it would tremble endlessly, but fortunately it withstood. However, the good times didn't last long. After a few breaths, Han Li shouted in a hurry, "Brother, the array disc can't hold up." After the formation, the 3 array discs were like one. How could Luo Hong not know that the array disc was about to be blown up by the overflowing Kunpeng True Thunder? There was no time to hesitate. Luo Hong shouted, "Let's fight against the blue thunder together. Just delay for a few more breaths." The array disc of the 3 tribulations thunder sky array was mainly driven by the top grade spirit stone. Luo Hong and the other two only used their spiritual consciousness to control it, and they had enough energy to use their magical powers. After saying that, Luo Hong used the mana that had just recovered to exert the power of heaven and earth, trying his best to make the blue thunder sweeping over the edge of the black spirit cover. That is to say, it has entered the end of the blue thunderball explosion. The blue thunder sweeping back and forth has become sparse, otherwise he has no room to operate at all. Han Leomo was also not vague at this time. The golden electric snakes all over his body crackled wildly, almost wrapping it into a thunderball. Then he raised his left hand with some difficulty and slapped his palm towards his head, and a thick golden lightning dragon roared out. As soon as the golden lightning dragon rushed out of the black spirit cover, it suddenly dispersed and turned into a golden lightning net, covering the black spirit cover and resisting those small blow lightnings. Compared with Lin Yinping and Lan Ke, who could only worry, Ling Lang raised her hand and sacrificed the pseudo reverse star disc. The starry disc turned slightly and absorbed many blue lightnings into it. But after only holding on for a breath, Ling Lang's face showed pain, and the pseudo reverse star disc also trembled uneasily, as if it could not bear the burden. Fortunately, after 3 breaths, the blue lightning suddenly became much sparse, and the outside of the black shield was finally no longer a piece of blue. After another 3 breaths, all the blue lightnings dispersed sparsely, and Luo Hong's nose was full of burnt smell. Looking up, the land was covered with scars. The place where they were had become a mountain. The rest of the land was charred and hot, a scene of doomsday. Luo Hong felt a breath when he sent out his spiritual sense. He followed the trail and saw a two-headed giant wolf lying on the ground, breathing heavily. It survived. Lin Yinping seemed to be frightened and muttered with dull eyes, "We can't let our guard down." Luo Hong ruthlessly broke her fantasy and looked at the green giant claw that had not retreated. Whether it was dissatisfied with not getting the prey it wanted or angered by the true demon energy that broke out of the seal, the green electric arc began to gather again. "Good guy, come again. Spare me." Luo Hong knew that this was just a casual attack from the opponent. Even if it came 10 or 100 times, it would not be a big deal. But in their current situation, as long as there was another thunderball, they would be wiped out here. "Brother." Seeing this, Han Leomo was very anxious. He turned his palm and sacrificed the Zushanding. Although he did not say it clearly, everyone knew what he meant. Hiding in the Zushanding and acting like an ostrich is a way out, but the premise is not to be targeted by Yushan Kunpeng. Otherwise, even if there are 10 Zushandings, they will not be enough for the other party to smash. Before he ran out of options, Luo Hong didn't want to gamble like this. Now that things have come to this, he had no choice but to take a risk. He turned his palm and took out a blood-colored stone. Luo Hong opened his mouth and sprayed a ball of blood. He quickly cast several spells with his hands. Suddenly, with the blood-colored stone as the center, a violent space force emerged, and it actually tore a thin crack in the extremely solid space. As soon as the crack appeared, wisps of dark air drilled out and spread like smoke in the sky and earth. The next moment, a scene that shocked everyone appeared. Suddenly, the giant green claw paused slightly, and the action of gathering the thunderball stopped immediately, as if the owner of the giant claw saw something extremely unexpected. Before everyone could breathe a sigh of relief, a violent divine thought came over, almost crushing Luo Hong like the mighty power of heaven. "Human race, have you seen Luo Hong? Not only have I seen Luo Hong, but I have also been swallowed by him. I know that Senior Kunpeng and Luo Hong are mortal enemies. I'm willing to find his trace for you. Please spare my life." Luo Hong did not dare to delay and quickly sent out a divine thought. "Forgive you? I just don't like this magic spring, but since you took the initiative to ask for it, I will give you a chance to serve. Go." As soon as the voice transmission fell, 3 green rays flew rapidly from the sky. It was said that Luo Hong was asked to take it, but in fact, it was not necessary at all. The 3 green rays flashed and drilled into Luo Hong's chest. Luo Hong only felt a slight pain in his chest and did not react at all. "Find Luo Hong within 100 years, and then use his blood to activate my feathers." After giving this instruction without any room for refusal, the blue lightning ball suddenly condensed into the size of a house, and then flew directly into the demon cave under the white jade altar. "Quick, leave the ground. Han Leomo glared, shouted, and turned into a light, and rushed straight into the sky. At this time, Yushian Kunpeng's mind had already gone far away, and Luo Hong also grabbed the distraught Lin Yinping and fled to a height of hundreds of feet. Chapter 709 End. As a huge muffled sound was heard, the earth immediately became like a boiling lake, and countless green lightning bolts drilled out from the cracks in the ground, forming an extremely magnificent scene. After a dozen breaths, when everything returned to calm, the demon cave that had been gushing black gas crazily had become an extremely huge pit, and the true demon energy was nowhere to be seen. And before that, the green giant claw had already turned into a green light and retracted back to the outside of the domain. Compared with its previous difficult exploration, it was not hindered when it retracted, but also received a certain amount of help, as if the heavenly Dao knew that it could not do anything to the other party and could only send the guest away as soon as possible. Watching the grey gate outside the domain close, Luo Hong's hanging heart was finally put down. Communicating with a true spirit level existence is simply a test of his heart. After all, there is still a ball of true spirit origin hidden in the treasure bag. However, the relaxed look did not stay on Luo Hong's face for too long. With a bitter smile full of heartache, the heavenly demon flag appeared in Luo Hong's palm. This treasure has lost all its former glory. Not only is the flag in tatters, but the countless extraterritorial demons refined in the flag are gone. It can be said that it is completely destroyed. Fortunately, after realizing that something was wrong, Luo Hong immediately cut off the connection between King Feng and the demon flag, thus saving the only blue demon in his hand. It's finally over, senior sister. Alas. Lan Kea was just happy for a moment that she had survived the catastrophe, but then she thought of Madame Niu who had been separated from her, and she couldn't help but feel sad. Thanks to the blue thunderball, the 9th floor space is now clear and clear at a glance. Except for them, Lan Kea didn't see any figure. Obviously, Yi Zheng and others including Madame Niu have been reduced to ashes and disappeared from this world. Senior brother Luo, what happened just now? Are you okay? Although Han Li didn't hear the voice transmission between Luo Hong and Yushian Kunpeng, he saw 3 blue rainbows drilling into Luo Hong's chest with his own eyes. He couldn't help but care about it, but he was afraid that it would involve Luo Hong's secret tunnel. Brother Han, don't worry. I know how to handle this matter. Although Yaoshan Kunpeng's appearance was beyond Luo Hong's expectations, it was inevitable to a certain extent. This big man had a record of fighting with Luo Hao, who was also a true spirit, and was hidden in the deep sea of the human world in the original time and space. It was natural for him to be outside the human world at this time. In addition, the door to the outside world, opened by Luo Hong, leaked the spiritual aura of Yuan Shimahe, a demon cultivator, which attracted him. The reason why Luo Hong could make Yaoshan Kunpeng pay attention to him was because the Luo Hao clan and the Kunpeng clan were mortal enemies. This is why Yaoshan Kunpeng took the initiative to transmit his thoughts to him after Luo Hong used the Bushan stone to open a gap connecting to the Yinming land. As for what Luo Hong promised the other party, it was not a problem at all. After all, they were going to fight. Seeing Luo Hong's natural expression, Han Li did not ask any more questions and took out many healing pills with his palm. On the other side, Ling Lang's soul had already escaped to the sky above a soft earth mountain. She waved her hand and stirred up a gust of wind, blowing away a lot of loose soil, revealing the 2-headed giant wolf with silver hair restored below. Seeing that her demon body was blackened and pulled by Kunpeng's true thunder, the princess of the Silver Moon Wolf clan couldn't help but look gloomy. But I don't know whether it was Yuansha's powerful body protection magic or her strong demon body. The 2-headed silver wolf didn't lose much vitality. Although it looks embarrassed now, it is mostly due to exhaustion, and the injury is not too serious. And Yuansha's soul is naturally very weak at this moment, like fish on a sticky board. Now is a good time for Ling Lang to devour the opponent. As long as she casts a spell to erase the opponent's consciousness, her soul will not only be greatly nourished and become stronger than before, but she won't have to worry about turning into another person. But she has been hesitant to do it. Dealing with Yuansha's soul is undoubtedly the top priority at the moment, so after a few breaths, Luo Hong and the other 4 also flew over. However, apart from Luo Hong and Han Li, Lin Yinping and Lan Kia did not dare to get too close to Ling Lang. You. Although he already knew the relationship between Zuling, Lang Meng and Ling Lang, Han Liumo still called out the name he was most familiar with. Ling Lang immediately smiled and interrupted Han Liumo, saying, "Master, I'm going back to the spirit world. Only in this way can I get rid of my instrument spirit body and embark on the path of cultivating immortals again. However, after I devour this soul of Yuansha, Lang Meng's injuries will be healed immediately. Her current cultivation is much higher than mine, and I will definitely be suppressed by her. So before taking action, the memory of that must be sealed with the soul sealing method." After saying some farewell words, Ling Lang, who was temporarily dominated by Yin Yu, stretched out his hand and grabbed a small black flag from the air. Then, she turned her head and looked at Luo Hong and said, "Fellow Daoist Luo, you have done a lot to help me get rid of the demon and regain my body. The demonic energy in this black wine flag has been completely cleansed by Kunpeng's true thunder. I will teach you the secret of Tang Bao as a thank you." The black wind flag was destroyed in the battle between Ling Lang and Yuansha's soul in the original time and space. It is natural that it has fallen into Luo Hong's hands now. After all, it was he who intervened and saved this treasure. Haha, then Luo will be disrespectful. Without much hesitation, Luo Hong took over the black wind flag, and the heartache of losing the heavenly demon flag disappeared immediately. What is this called? This is called the old does not go, the new does not come. After Ling Lang used the method of telepathy to teach Luo Hong the secret of Tang Bao of the black wind flag, she cooperated with Han Liumo to perform the Fengling Buffer. Luo Hong knew very well what the memory to be sealed was, so he cast a spell to refine the black wind flag without any curiosity. Just when he had just finished and was about to store the black wind flag in his danshan, Luo Hong suddenly remembered something, and his expression became complicated. "Oh my god, I almost forgot about Xiang Laogi." This time, he really shot himself in the foot, and he pitted others, and pitted himself miserably. The magical power of the fantasy sky phenomenon is extremely difficult to break from the inside, but if the cultivators outside have powerful space magic weapons, they can break it more easily. I remember that temporary crack space is on the 9th floor of this demon suppression tower. Let's find it. Hey, my luck is getting better now. Luo Hong shook the black wind flag slightly and found an abnormal space fluctuation. After muttering in his heart, he cast a spell at the black wind flag. Suddenly, a black crescent-shaped wind blade shot out, slashed in an empty space, and tore a space crack. A beam of white light flew out of it, and then turned into a ghostly old man, who looked around in doubt. "Brother Xiang, you really have so much free time," Luo Hong said resentfully. Chapter 710. It's okay if you don't want this wish. After seeing Luo Hong's appearance, Xiang Zili was immediately shocked, and his vigilance became even heavier. You know, he had fought side by side with Luo Hong before, and he knew the other's magical powers very well. Luo Hong was now covered in blood, and the horrible wound on his chest faintly exuded a palpitating breath. His face was pale, and it was obvious that he was deficient in both blood and ki. It was obvious that he had been pushed to the limit and almost died. Then, when Xiang Zili saw the two-headed silver wolf lying on the ground, he took a breath of cold air. Such a big fuss. Fortunately, I was sealed. At this moment, Xiang Zili's original resentment for being sealed into the magical celestial phenomenon disappeared without a trace, and he felt that he was very lucky to have escaped a disaster. Therefore, he looked at Luo Hong with sympathy and kindness. "Haha, junior brother Luo, you've worked hard. If this feat gets out, junior brother will probably become famous immediately. May I ask which senior that fairy is?" Xiang Zili caught a glimpse of Ling Lang casting a spell, and couldn't help but approach Luo Hong, and asked in a low voice. "Of course it's senior Ling Lang. Senior brother, remember to ask about the space node later. If you miss this store, you won't have a chance," Luo Hong reminded casually. He didn't want to flatter Long Meng's face, but just wanted to sit back and enjoy the fruits of his labor. "No chance? Junior brother, what do you mean? Is senior Ling Lang going to retreat to heal her injuries soon?" Xiang Zili asked in confusion. That's not the case, but she is about to ascend to the spirit world. Senior brother, please hurry up. Luo Hong was a little petty and set a trap for Xiang Zili, believing that after the other party learned the truth, he would be so disappointed that he couldn't laugh anymore. After that, Luo Hong didn't care about what happened here and flew away. In addition to the Black Wind flag, another spiritual treasure in the 9th floor, the 8 spirit ruler, should have also been preserved. After flying towards the direction of Yizeng in his memory for a while, Luo Hong suddenly sensed a weak spiritual energy, so he immediately stopped his flight light and stretched out his hand to grab it. Suddenly, a milky white short ruler flew out from the charred soil and fell into his hand. Compared with the intact Black Wind flag, the 8 spirit ruler was obviously much more spiritually damaged, and it did not have the great spiritual power at the beginning. Although this treasure is also a spiritual treasure, it is a Buddhist spiritual treasure. It cannot exert its maximum power in the hands of a cultivator who does not practice Buddhist techniques, and it is not as powerful as the Black Wind flag. Therefore, Luo Hong did not intend to take it for himself at the moment, but planned to comprehend the refining technique and then give it to Han Laono. But he never expected that the 8 spirit ruler would suddenly change as soon as it fell into his hand. Suddenly, a strong suction force broke out, and Luo Hong's palm was sucked hard onto the ruler. Then a layer of colorful light appeared on Luo Hong's body and quickly flowed into the 8 spirit ruler from his palm. Suddenly, the 8 spirit ruler's spiritual light, which was originally weak due to damage, suddenly increased, and its aura became stronger as time went by. What the hell? Is this treasure absorbing my magic power? Luo Hong immediately became suspicious and wanted to control his magic power to return to his danshan. However, when he moved, the suspicion on his face became heavier because his magic power stayed in his danshan or acupoints obediently, without any abnormal movement. That's strange. What is the power that the 8 spirit ruler swallowed? With doubts, Luo Hong carefully examined himself and found that none of the 3 elements of spirit, energy, and spirit moved. Obviously, the power that the 8 spirit ruler swallowed did not belong to him, but was an external force that was attached to him and unknown to him. Obviously, this power was so hidden that Luo Hong had never discovered it until it was stimulated by the 8 spirit ruler. The origin of this power is not difficult to guess. After all, from the inexplicably familiar aura emitted by the colorful glow and the information that it can be stimulated by the Buddhist magic treasure 8 spirit ruler, Luo Hong can easily get the answer. It's the power of will. How can I have so much power of will? For a while, Luo Hong had many more doubts, but he also understood many of his previous doubts. For example, why did monk Yanjing call him a Buddhist son? Well, it turns out that this monk is serious. After knowing that it was the power of will, the panic in Luo Hong's heart disappeared completely. After all, the loss of the power of will not have any other impact on him except for the incident itself. What needs to be considered now is whether it is necessary to interrupt the 8 spirit ruler's absorption of his power of will. As one of the main categories of cultivation in the human world, Luo Hong also knows something about Buddhism, and the power of will is an important part of Buddhist cultivation, so he is naturally not unfamiliar with it. As far as he knows, it is quite troublesome to obtain the power of will, because it is a kind of power generated by the human heart, and it can only be obtained by truth and sincerity. Generally speaking, they are obtained through the entire sect, and then let the core disciples use it, just like the late Bu Zen master. Therefore, it is obviously extremely abnormal that I have so many wishes inexplicably. Through recollection, Luo Hong quickly locked the most likely way for me to obtain so many wishes. That is the Supreme Rainbow King Talisman. There is no other reason, just because this thing makes him intersect with many cultivators, which is a necessary factor for the gathering of a large amount of wishes. As for more specific methods, either he uses a Supreme Rainbow King Talisman to harvest the weak spiritual wisdom of the cultivators, which just fits the process of collecting wishes, or those cultivators use the Supreme Rainbow King Talisman to repel the enemy, and the fluctuations in their hearts at that moment form wishes. Considering the difficulty of collecting wishes and the fact that Buddhism is not everywhere now, Luo Hong is more inclined to the former. If the former is the premise, my wish power should have stopped growing long ago. After all, the soul nourishing pill factory in the ceiling demon tower has not been in business for a long time. So should I keep these wish powers? Or take the opportunity to get rid of them? Luo Hong frowned and said to himself. After a moment, he made a choice. He saw the colorful glow suddenly become stronger, and the spiritual light emitted by the 8 spirit ruler became more dazzling. That's right, Luo Hong decided not to have these wish powers. Although Luo Hong's cultivation is far from the level of understanding the Great Dao, after more than 200 years of cultivation, he has also gained some insights. That is, the Great Dao of Yin and Yang is the foundation of all things. Yin and Yang exist between all things, and wish power is in it. For cultivators, avoiding yin and chasing yang is the top priority, and they often do it unconsciously. For example, the power of heaven and earth, although this magical power has a myriad of uses and is powerful, it also has the disadvantage of being easily out of control and backlashing its master, which is both yin and yang. And Luo Hong has always used its power to avoid its harm, so that he can be stable until now. The same is true for the power of will. Although this power seems to be all good now, Luo Hong knows that it must have some harm. Compared with Luo Hong's familiarity with the power of heaven and earth, he knows very little about the power of will, so he can't avoid the yin and pursue the yang. In short, the potential risk of the power of will for Luo Hong is very high. In addition, if it is as he expected, the power of will is not a rare thing for him. Even if it is lost now, if he wants to get it back in the future, he only needs to open a soul nourishing pill factory. Of course, there is a more important reason, that is, Han Leomo has suffered a loss in a similar problem. Just more than 10 years ago, Han Leomo suffered a heavy loss because of the heavy evil spirit on his body. Luo Hong has always been crossing the river by feeling Han Leomo, so he naturally has to learn from his lessons. It's better not to have this power of will. Chapter 711 Kunwu Mountain belongs. As Luo Hong took the initiative to inject his willpower into the 8 spirit ruler, the aura of this treasure began to rise rapidly, and various strange phenomena appeared, such as white lotus blooming, and spirit deer condensing into shape, as if the 8 spirit ruler took the initiative to recognize its master. After several hours, Luo Hong's willpower was completely absorbed by the 8 spirit ruler, which directly repaired the damage of this treasure. On the other side, Linglong's soul also escaped into the body of the two-headed silver wolf. After a not so intense struggle, the black wolf head turned back to silver. With a flash of silver spiritual light, Linglong appeared in front of everyone in the form of a flesh body. However, just looking at her arrogant eyes at this moment, it can be known that it is Long Meng who is in charge at this moment. Seeing this, Han Leomo's expression was a little sad, but he didn't say anything, just wanted to watch the other party leave the human world quietly. Linglong, who took Long Meng as her master, was arrogant and vain, but she was not ruthless and ungrateful. Although she hated Han Leomo's small Yuanian cultivators for taking advantage of her, she was not prepared to harm him. She was irritable and pretended not to see it. With a flick of her silver hair, Linglong looked at Luo Hong, who was wrapped in a white lotus, and stared at the 8 spirit ruler with narrowed eyes. When Luo Hong saw her like this, he understood something in his heart. Anyway, he was not prepared to take the 8 spirit ruler, so he threw the treasure away. Although she was a little surprised at Luo Hong's understanding, Linglong just snorted coldly and did not give him a good face. Afterwards, this woman used the 8 spirit ruler to taste Han Leomo's kindness to Yanyu, just like in the original time and space, and warned the other party not to appear in front of her again. Although Anke had some opinions about this, she was powerless to stop it. After all, although the 8 spirit ruler had some origins with their Huaxin sect, it was tens of thousands of years ago, and this treasure is indeed ownerless now. Seeing that she was upset, Luo Hong couldn't help but shake his head secretly, thinking that the other party's vision was indeed a little short-sighted and not suitable to be in charge of a sect. But in the world of immortal cultivation, people always help their relatives and not others. Luo Hong's eyes flashed, and he said to Zhang Zili, who had obtained a large number of spatial node coordinates, but was in a complicated mood, because he knew that he could not follow the ascension. Brother Zhang, the matter of Kunwu Mountain has come to an end. I don't know how the righteous and evil will arrange this mountain in the future. The seal on the periphery can only last for a few months at most. Kunwu Mountain suppresses boundless demonic energy. This time it is a disaster, rather than a blessing. After this matter is over, I will unite many fellow practitioners in Dajin to wrestle Kunwu Mountain. There is nothing to discuss about such a big issue, Xiang Zili answered nonchalantly. Do you know where we are now? Luo Hong was slightly stunned when he heard this, and then reacted. Xiang Liugi had just escaped from the magical celestial phenomenon, and knew very little about the things here, so he was still looking at the problem with an old perspective. Brother Luo, please don't embarrass me. This space has been turned upside down by someone with great magical powers. It is unrecognizable. How can I recognize it? If there is any mistake in what I said, please tell me. Xiang Zili knew that Luo Hong had something to say, and smiled bitterly. The place where Brother Xiang is floating now should have been the ground of this space, and there is a white jade altar over there to suppress the true demon energy. Yes, Brother Xiang is not wrong. This place is the 9th floor of the demon suppression tower, and the boundless demon energy suppressed by Kunwu Mountain has also disappeared. For this, Luo has contributed a lot. Luo Hong pointed around and said. Halfway through his words, Xiang Zili understood the meaning of Luo Hong's words, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. Kunwu Mountain is really going to be born this time. Then, Xiang Zili's eyes wandered around Luo Hong and Lan Ke for 2 circles, and he guessed why Luo Hong specifically mentioned this matter, so he laughed, and said to Lan Ke, fellow Daoist Lan, Huaxin sect has made a lot of efforts in this extermination of demons, and Madame Mu's sacrifice will never be forgotten by both the righteous and the evil. Moreover, Huaxin sect is not far from here, so why not wait until Kunwu Mountain is completely born, and then Daoist. Even if the sect behind him wanted to take a share, it could only share it with several other sects. Moreover, the greatest benefit of Kunwu Mountain was the rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth on the mountain. This thing was only needed by immortal cultivators when they were in seclusion and trying to break through the bottleneck. Therefore, it was very reasonable to let a small sect in southern Xinjiang occupy the management and open up many caves on the mountain for sale or rent. Everyone can get a share of the benefits, and all forces can be satisfied. On the surface, it was the Huaxin sect that occupied Kunwu Mountain, but in fact it was the manager of the big hotel in Kunwu Mountain. Although it had some management shares, most of the shares were divided out. In this way, Luo Hong, as an outsider from Xianan, could also get his own benefits from Kunwu Mountain. Lankia was also a smart person. Although she was panicked because of the huge benefits of Kunwu Mountain, she figured out the reason after a while. Although Huaxin sect was the one being used in this matter, it did get some benefits, and this part of the benefits fell on them because of Luo Hong's feelings. After all, no one would believe that those big forces would give Huaxin sect this opportunity just because of Madame Mu's death. If so, wouldn't it be more appropriate for the Poison Saint sect, which was completely destroyed here, and was also a sect in southern Xinjiang, to be more suitable than Huaxin sect? To put it bluntly, if such a good thing were to be leaked, I don't know how many sects would rush to do it, and Huaxin sect really had no reason to refuse. In this case, our sect is willing to guard this mountain for the great Jinziuxin world. After thinking it through, Lankia immediately responded happily, completely forgetting the 8 spirit ruler. After all, although the spiritual treasure is good, it must be guarded. Although controlling Kunwu Mountain looks dangerous, there will be many forces to support them. As long as Huaxin sect does not cross the line, there will be no risk. After discussing the ownership of Kunwu Mountain, everyone soon witnessed the wonders when the reverse spirit channel was opened. I saw that infinite starlight poured out from the pseudo reverse stardisk, gathered in one place, and turned into a golden cloud, and then a golden light column shot out from it, and rushed straight into the sky. There were several crisp sounds, and the golden beam of light blasted through the space, and sank into a dark hole. Not long after, a beautiful fairy sound floated out from it, and the originally irregular space hole was transformed into a round entrance under the spread of a starlight vortex. Chapter 712 Departure. Behind the entrance was a passageway with countless colorful light balls floating in it. Luo Hong recognized them at a glance. They were all extremely pure heaven and earth energy. After a moment, a round disc about a foot in size slowly flew out of the passage along the golden light column and hovered at the entrance. This disc was exactly the same as the pseudo-Nixing disc that Linglong had sacrificed. It was full of spiritual light and starlight, which made everyone guess that this was the real Nixing disc. Linglong was delighted to see this and immediately flew towards the disc. As she approached, a circle of light wheel turned out from her body and soon fell under her jade feet. It seemed that due to the appearance of the light wheel, the light ball in the Nilling channel made a clear buzzing sound, and the disc also slowly turned. Obviously, this circle of light wheel was Linglong's identity authentication. Immediately, Linglong did not look back, and her body moved and landed on the disc, and was taken into the Nilling channel by it. Suddenly, various colors of rosy clouds emerged in the passage, and in a blink of an eye, Linglong disappeared in front of everyone. With a loud boom, all the rays of light quickly faded away, and the passage became dark again and collapsed rapidly. After a few breaths, the reverse spirit passage completely disappeared, and the ninth layer of space once again returned to peace. With a sigh, Zhang turned his head to Luo Hong and said, "Brother Luo, this time I was sealed into the crack space, which must have alarmed my good friend. Are you interested in meeting and discussing the Dao for a few days?" Zhang Liugi was also very cautious in doing things. Before entering Kunwu Mountain, he specially sent a message to explain that, as long as he lost contact in the mountain, his good friend who was in the state of incarnation outside would come to rescue him immediately. In addition, Luo Hong also knew that his good friend happened to be in trouble at the moment, so he entrusted the matter to Leomo. No need. Luo Hong was seriously injured. Finding a place to heal is the top priority. I'd also like to trouble Brother Zhang to help me look after the relocation of Huaxin sect. Luo Hong didn't want to meet a Huaxin cultivator when he was weak, and the other party was a demon cultivator who had a grudge against him. Haha, don't worry, brother, I will not let you down for your hard work. Zhang understood immediately that Luo Hong didn't want to suffer a loss in the division of Kunwu Mountain's interests because of his departure, so he promised immediately. Well, thank you, senior brother. After bowing his hands to express his gratitude, Luo Hong turned his gaze to Lan Kea, took out a jade slip and said, "Fellow Daoist Lan, from now on, Luo's share of the profits in Kunwu Mountain will be kept by your sect, and will be used to collect the things in this jade slip. This matter is very important to Luo, please. Brother Luo, you are too polite. I will definitely pay attention to this matter." After seeing Luo Hong's divine power, Lan Kea had already regarded him as a senior who had reached the state of transformation, and immediately responded respectfully. The spiritual materials listed in the jade slip are necessary for refining the Wuxiang fusion talisman. Luo Hong just lost the only one, so naturally he had to find a way to refine another one. Afterwards, everyone left the demon suppression tower together. Looking at the Kunwu Mountain that had returned to silence, Luo Hong couldn't help but sigh. My goodness, it seems that more people died this time than in the original time and space. Is it because Han Leomo and I overlapped buffs? After leaving the demon suppression tower, Luo Hong did not stay for long. He waved the black wind flag and opened a space passage. He and Han Leomo went in one after the other. Not long after the two left, a flying sword message came from the horizon. Zhang put his palms together and clamped the flying sword in his hands. After lowering his head for a moment, he threw it aside and let it fly back. I didn't expect that it was Leomo who came. Let's go and meet him. After saying that, Zhang set up the escape light, wrapped Lin Yinping and Lan Kea in it, and quickly fled down the mountain. Not long after, Zhang's silver escape light met a black escape light. The two stopped at the same time. An old man wearing a wooden crown and looking sick appeared in the black escape light. Zhang Liugui, seeing that you look unharmed, I guess the incident in the mountain must have been a close call, right? As soon as they met, Leomo stared at Zhang and asked very familiarly without even looking at the two women. I'm lucky. I just came out to clean up the mess. Moreover, due to some accidents, the boundless demonic energy suppressed under Kunwu Mountain has been completely cleared. What does this mean, fellow Daoist who? You should know it clearly, right? Zhang laughed frivolously and tilted his head towards the ground. What? So this Kunwu Immortal Mountain finally doesn't have to be a decoration? Huleomo's eyes widened, and he immediately realized that this would bring huge changes to the Dajin Immortal cultivation world. Zhang didn't keep him in suspense, and then told him the way to divide it that he and Luo Hong had discussed. After hearing this, old demon Hu pondered for a moment, then frowned and said, since the Huarxin sect has a connection with you, an old ghost, and they have made a contribution this time, it's no big deal to give them half of the share. Each of our sects will get 10%, and the other 10 great sects of righteousness and evil will compete for the half-tenth share, based on their abilities, which is reasonable. But how can a Cheyenne cultivator in the late nascent soul stage also get 10%, and be on an equal footing with us? Humph. This fellow Daoist Luo has the magical powers to fight against the demons in the late god transformation stage at such a young age. Do you think he is qualified, fellow Daoist Hu? Zhang snorted coldly. He was obsessed with the method of ascension that Luo Hong had comprehended. He wanted to make friends with Luo Hong, so naturally he couldn't let old demon Hu ruin things. Hiss. That's really not to be underestimated. Since he has this ability, he is the only one. I didn't expect that there is a level 10 MUKUI in the human world. This is really a pleasant surprise. Let's talk about this matter later. As he was speaking, Huleomo suddenly sensed a faint demonic aura. He used his magical power to take a look, and a look of surprise suddenly appeared on his face. Then, he turned into a black line and flew away. Not long after, a faint roar came from the sky. After coming out of the space channel, Luo Hong and Han Li came to a beautiful mountain. Since they had only initially refined the Black Wind flag, the two did not teleport far away, and were still in the southern border. Ignoring the low-level cultivators running around, Han Li glanced at the wound on Luo Hong's chest and asked, brother, where are you going to heal your wounds next? I also need to find a secluded place to refine medicine, so you can protect me on the way. No need for that. Although I'm seriously injured, I have the help of the Yuhua pill, and I'll be fine in a few days. But it will take several years to fully recover in order to get rid of the alien aura on the wound. Fortunately, I know a secret place that is absolutely safe, so I won't bother you, brother Han. The secret place that Luo Hong was referring to was the cave of Wentian Zenran. The place was full of spiritual energy, and it was a good place to heal wounds and recuperate. Chapter 713 Guangnan Prefecture. Although the spiritual energy on Kunwu Mountain is not bad, it will be the center of the great Jin cultivation world in a few decades, which will inevitably lead to countless disputes. It is definitely not a good place for healing and meditation. Knowing that Luo Hong had a plan in mind, Han Leomo said no more and immediately bowed and said goodbye. Looking at a green escape light disappearing in the sky, Luo Hong did not choose a place. After throwing out 2 array plates to occupy the top of the mountain, he took out a feathering pill and swallowed it. This ancient elixir lived up to its name. As soon as it entered the mouth, it turned into a boiling hot stream, and then it was easily refined by Luo Hong's magic power. As the pure energy sank into his limbs, Luo Hong's pale face due to the lack of blood and ki turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye. 3 days later, Luo Hong, who was sitting cross-legged and practicing, suddenly opened his eyes, and his brilliance shot out like an arrow. After refining a feathering pill, Luo Hong's complexion has returned to normal. If the wounds on his chest and left arm had not yet healed, no one would have been able to tell that he was injured. It's really uncomfortable to be entangled by these alien spiritual energies. After receiving Lu Zhu, we will quickly set off to Guangnan Prefecture. After frowning slightly, Luo Hong waved his sleeves to put away the 2 array plates, and his figure disappeared without a trace in a flash. Time flies, and more than half a year has passed in a flash. Guangnan Prefecture, which belongs to the northern prefecture of Dajin, has a large population and spiritual lands everywhere. It is an excellent place to establish a sect. But unfortunately, it has both the right time and the right place, but lacks the right people. Guangnan Prefecture is located at the junction of the forces of the righteous and the evil. As a buffer zone, disciples of the righteous and the evil often practice here, so it is not uncommon for cultivators to fight. located between two major forces, and in constant chaos. Guangnan Prefecture, as big as it is, does not even have a sect of immortal cultivation. The only immortal cultivation forces here are the immortal cultivation families, which are scattered and not concentrated. Because of this, the fighting between these families has never stopped, and the tragedy of exterminating a family overnight has occurred repeatedly, which has aggravated the chaos in Guangnan Prefecture. However, the chaos in the immortal cultivation world cannot affect Guangnan Prefecture city, where mortals live. In fact, due to the large number of immortal cultivators coming and going from the south and the north, it has made it particularly prosperous. On this day, in a luxurious bookstore on the south street of the prefecture, a young man dressed as a scholar was standing in front of the counter, flipping through an ancient book attentively. The green-clothed girl next to him looked at the bustling street outside the bookstore with people coming and going, revealing a yearning look, but it seemed that she did not dare to leave without the young man's permission. The bookstore owner standing behind the counter was rubbing his fat hands with a smile on his face, and the expectation in his eyes was almost overflowing, because the ancient book in the hands of the young scholar was the stock that he had not sold since he opened the shop. Not bad. Very interesting. Are there any ancient books with similar content? After flipping through it for a while, the young scholar nodded with satisfaction and asked without taking his eyes off the ancient books. Yes. We still have 3 copies of these ancient books about legendary beasts in our store, but it's not easy to keep them, so the spiritual stone. The bookstore owner rubbed his fingers and looked at the 2 people in front of him, considering whether to kill or not. The young scholar did not respond at this time, but the green-clothed girl beside him turned her head and looked at him helplessly and said, "Is 20 spiritual stones enough?" This. The bookstore owner was shocked. He was still hesitating and wanted to offer 10 spiritual stones. How could he say it? 30. Seeing that he didn't say anything, the green-clothed girl directly added another 10. Deal. Seeing that the other party offered such a straightforward price, the bookstore owner did not dare to overcharge them, fearing that the 2 people in front of him were the direct descendants of a great immortal cultivation family, and that they would cause trouble for themselves in the future. Then let's find it. The green-clothed girl raised her arm and placed a mid-level spirit stone on the counter. The bookstore owner was immediately in tears, because a mid-level spirit stone was equivalent to 100 low-level spirit stones, and he could not find it now. After watching the bookstore owner drag his fat body out of the store, the green-clothed girl turned to look at the young scholar and said, "Master, did you find it?" "Indeed, I have gained something. According to the records in those ancient books, Zhongshan is a kind of true spirit of heaven and earth, with a dragon head and a horse body. Wherever it passes, the mountains float. It is often called a mountain god by the world. But in my opinion, this Zhongshan true spirit must have been bred by the laws of heaven and earth, so there was a change that day." The young scholar was a Luo Hong who came all the way from southern Xinjiang. Although Guangnan Prefecture was tens of thousands of miles away from southern Xinjiang, he should have arrived long ago with his speed of escape, but every time he passed a city, he had to spend 2 or 3 days collecting ancient books about strange beasts, which delayed it until today. This bookstore was not the only place where he gained something, but the descriptions in the ancient books were either vague and abnormal, or full of the author's imagination. Only by comparing them in many ways did he get some reliable information. "Oh, then master, how long will we stay in Guangnan Prefecture this time?" The girl in green was obviously Luo Zhu. Compared with many years ago, she was still short and small, but the childishness in her face had disappeared, and now she looked like a lovely girl. "If nothing unexpected happens, we will stay here for 10 years. As he said this, Luo Hong suddenly closed the ancient book in his hand, looked to the west across the wall and said, "If everything goes well, you will form a pill here." After swallowing pills for several years in a row, Luo Zhu's cultivation has now reached the late stage of foundation building, and it is not far from forming a pill. As long as Luo Hong takes her to the Wentian cave mansion, it will not be too difficult for this little girl to form a pill with the spiritual energy filled in it, and some external objects. It is worth mentioning that Luo Hong once tampered with the large formation arranged by the Yi family in the Taiping River outside the Taiping Water Mansion. At that time, the purpose was to let Luo Zhu form a pill and start working for him with the help of the spiritual energy of the river gathered by the formation. But plans cannot keep up with changes. Luo Hong, who was burdened with the task of Yushai and Kunpeng, had to go to Chaos Star Sea as soon as possible. After all, 100 years is long or short, and it can't afford any accidents. Therefore, Luo Zhu's place of work had to change accordingly. Not long after, the bookstore owner returned to the bookstore with the 70 spiritual stones he had just exchanged. After the money and goods were settled, the master and apprentice walked out of the bookstore and set up the escape light to the west of the city. Since Luo Hong didn't want to expose the location of the entrance to the Wentian cave mansion, the two of them were very low-key at the moment. The aura exposed was only that of the late stage of key refining, so the escape speed naturally couldn't be too fast. After a while, Luo Zhu looked at the escape light that was surpassing them, or being surpassed by them from time to time, and couldn't help showing a strange look on her face. She knew that Luo Hong was going to a secret place this time, but the current posture made her question whether that place was really secret. Luo Hong was also a little suspicious at this time. Could it be that the entrance to the Wentian cave mansion has become well known after the passage of time? Chapter 714, Front. While he was in doubt, a cry suddenly came from below. Luo Hong looked down and saw that Luo Zhu beside him actually fell straight down. Why is this girl so impatient all of a sudden? Luo Hong looked with doubt and saw two groups of monks fighting each other on a flat ground below. One group was all wearing yellow clothes and had a cultivation level of the late stage of key refining, with a total of 3 people. The other group also had 3 people, but it was a Taoist couple with a boy. The cultivation level and magic weapons of the two groups of monks were similar, so naturally the one with more people had a big advantage. And those yellow-clothed monks were quite ruthless, and they attacked the boy from time to time. After 2 or 3 rounds, the Taoist couple could not resist. But even so, Luo Zhu should not have rushed down to save people without a word. It was not until Luo Hong took a closer look at the woman in the Taoist couple that he suddenly realized and thought to himself that it was no wonder. The woman was none other than Gongzuhe, who had already grown up. In just a moment of distraction, Luo Zhu had already suppressed the 3 yellow monks. The flying sword wrapped in the cold air of ice allowed her to easily deal with the 3 without revealing her cultivation. Well, at least she still remembered my instructions. Luo Zhu's behavior was also normal. Seeing that she did not forget to hide her cultivation, Luo Hong's dissatisfaction in her heart quickly dissipated. When Luo Hong flew down, the 3 yellow monks were shivering with cold, their eyes full of fear, but they still shouted in a cowardly manner, "Who are you? How dare you go against our Huang family?" Luo Zhu has been practicing with Luo Hong for many years and has not experienced much experience. Although she subdued the 3 people, she did not know how to deal with them for a while and looked at Luo Hong weakly. "Don't cause trouble." The yellow-robed monk who had just shouted was overjoyed when he heard this. He thought that Luo Hong knew the reputation of their Huang family and was ready to give in. He couldn't help but shout arrogantly, "Ha! You know you can't afford to offend me. Kill them all." Luo Hong's light words made the 3 people fall from ecstasy to mad sorrow. Before they could beg for mercy, the black ice flying sword circled around them, and 3 heads frozen into ice cubes rolled down. Well, after collecting the storage bag, destroy the body, and destroy the traces. This is the fixed process of killing people and stealing treasures. Have you learned it? Luo Hong taught earnestly. "I have learned it, young master." Luo Zhu shrank her head and responded. Young master was what she was told to call Luo Hong in front of outsiders during this period. "This Taoist friend, I'm Luo Xinchen. Thank you for saving my life." The man in the Taoist couple saw that Luo Hong and the others did not attack them, and he couldn't help but feel relieved, and then he bowed his hands in gratitude. Gongzuhe, who was protecting the boy tightly, was stunned when she saw the faces of the 2 people. "Don't thank me, I didn't do anything," Luo Hong said coldly. "Well, thank you for saving our family, fairy. If you have any instructions, I will do my best." Luo Xinchuan's face froze, but he quickly adjusted himself and bowed to Luo Zhu who had just destroyed the corpse. However, Lu Zhu ignored him and looked at Gong Zuhua with a complicated expression. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "Miss, you are not my maid anymore. You don't have to call me miss in the future. You have made great progress in your cultivation over the years. It seems that Brother Luo has not treated you badly. I'm relieved," Gong Zuhua said with a guilty look on her face. She has hardly moved her cultivation over the years and has already given up the immortal way. Now seeing that Lu Zhu, who was not as good as her in the past, has surpassed her, she can't help but feel uncomfortable. They even call me Brother Luo. I guess the old ghost must have done something to them and erased some of their memories. But it's okay. Now we can save ourselves the trouble. After complaining in his heart, Luo Hong glanced at the light flying in the distance from time to time and asked calmly, "Do you two know why so many cultivators are heading to the west of the city? Aren't you two benefactors here to attend the King of Ginseng conference?" Lu Xinchuan asked suspiciously. "King of Ginseng conference? What is that? I just arrived in Guangnan Prefecture today. Can Brother Lu tell me more about it?" Luo Hong's intuition told him that this King of Ginseng conference would block his way, so he asked immediately. "Of course, but the foundation building cultivators of the Huang family will come at any time. Let's talk while we walk." After looking around uneasily, Lu Xinchuan suggested with a worried look on his face. "Okay, let's go." Luo Hong didn't want to get involved in the local family disputes, so he stepped on the ground and drove the magic weapon into the air. After flying a mile, Lu Xinchuan was completely relieved, and then he introduced the King of Ginseng conference to Luo Hong. This King of Ginseng conference, as its name suggests, is held around a spiritual medicine called blood ginseng, and its significance is not limited to spiritual medicine. The organizer of the King of Ginseng conference is the Sima family, one of the most powerful immortal cultivators in Guangnan Prefecture. Generally, a small event is held every 10 years, and a large event is held every 60 years. This time it is a large event, so there are so many immortal cultivators gathered. As for blood ginseng, it is a spiritual medicine cultivated by the Sima family with a unique secret method. Taking it raw can help immortal cultivators increase their cultivation, and even have a slight effect of helping to break through bottlenecks. Depending on the year, the medicinal power of blood ginseng is also very different. The weakest one is only useful for immortal cultivators in the key refining stage, while the 1000-year-old blood ginseng has the miraculous effect of increasing the chance of forming an infant for cultivators in the late stage of dawn formation. And every time the King of Ginseng conference is held, the Sima family will definitely take out a 1000-year-old blood ginseng as a prize. While Luo Hong was talking to Lu Xinchuan, Lu Zhu was chatting happily with Gong Zuhua, and from time to time he reached out to tease the child in the other's arms. When they were approaching the venue of the King of Ginseng conference, 3 rays of light came from below. The visitors were 3 middle-aged male cultivators who looked somewhat similar to Lu Xinchuan. They were all in the foundation building stage. At this time, the faces of the 3 were unhappy. "Chuana, didn't I tell you? Our Lu family is now in a stalemate with the Huang family. Your cultivation is not enough to protect yourself. Don't come to participate in this King of Ginseng conference. Why are you so disobedient?" The person who scolded him seemed to be Lu Xinchuan's father. At this moment, he didn't dare to answer. "Dad, don't blame Brother Chuan. I begged him to come. The large-scale King of Ginseng conference is held once every 60 years. If my husband and I miss it this time, we will never have the chance to participate in it in our lives." Gong Zuhua stopped at the key refining stage, so he only had a lifespan of about 100 years, so he was so obsessed. "Hey, forget it. I'm glad you're alright. These 2 fellow Taoists are." The middle-aged cultivator looked at Luo Hong and the others and smiled kindly. "Dad, they are my son's savior. We just met by chance and are traveling together. Now that we are here, we'll take our leave." Luo Hong suddenly interrupted Lu Xinchuan. He didn't want to get entangled with the Lu family anymore. Lu Zhu knew that her master had important matters to attend to. Although she was a little reluctant, she didn't act like a little girl and immediately flew away with him. "Wait. The 2 of you are acting so suspiciously. Are you spies from the Huang family?" Lu Xinchuan's father didn't know what was going on. When he noticed something was wrong, he couldn't help but look cold. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 715 Experience. When Lu Xinchuan heard that his father had misunderstood, he hurriedly opened his mouth to explain, but unexpectedly, his second uncle beside him stopped him first. "Brother, don't make trouble. We can't afford to offend these two people." Lu Xinchuan's father frowned. Although his second brother's cultivation was comparable to his, the skills he practiced were quite magical in detecting auras. Therefore, although it was just a sentence, he paid special attention to it. Luo Hong had ignored the Lu family from the beginning to the end, and now he had already flown away. "Second brother, what did you notice? What's wrong with those two people? That man is ordinary, but the green-clothed female cultivator is definitely not a cultivator in the key refining stage on the surface, but a late foundation establishment stage existence." The second uncle of the Lu family recalled the chill in the other party's aura, and couldn't help trembling in his heart, and said with a solemn face, "What? This is impossible." Gong Zuhua shouted excitedly. Seeing that everyone in the Lu family looked at her in surprise, she immediately slowed down her tone and explained, "Lu Zhu is younger than me, how can he have such a high level of cultivation? Dad, it's like this. In fact, we are on the way here." Seeing his father and others showing doubtful expressions, Lu Xinchuan took the opportunity to tell them what happened before. After pondering for a moment, Lu Xinchuan's father frowned and looked at the second uncle of the Lu family beside him and said, "Second brother, could it be that you are mistaken? Absolutely impossible." The second uncle of the Lu family shook his head with certainty. "If that's the case, isn't that brother Luo a master of the giant stage?" Lu Xinchuan saw Lu Zhu's respect for Luo Hong along the way, and couldn't help but guess. Whether it is true or not, those two have no ill will towards our Lu family, so we don't need to investigate further. After all, they obviously have no intention of making close friends with our Lu family. Lu Xinchuan's father was secretly surprised. Although he wanted to find out the truth, he could only sigh when he saw Gong Zuhua's distraught look. After the head of the family spoke, the Lu family temporarily turned the page and flew away together. On the other side, Luo Hong and Lu Zhu had entered a huge market town. A magic circle was set up here to prohibit flying, so the immortal cultivators who escaped here all landed on the ground and started walking. "Disciple, you still need to work on your key collecting technique. It is a disgrace to your master to be seen through by a cultivator whose cultivation is not as good as yours." While walking in the market town, Luo Hong lectured Lu Zhu in a calm tone. "Oh, disciple knows my mistake," Lu Zhu replied weakly. Noticing something strange, Luo Hong glanced at the little girl and found that she was listless, her eyes were blank, and her steps were no longer as brisk as before. "What? Do you feel the difference between immortals and mortals?" After reuniting with Gong Zuhua, although the two looked happy and affectionate, Lu Zhu could clearly feel the gap. There was a huge gap between her and Gong Zuhua, who was already married and had children. They seemed to be from different worlds. "Master, will I be lonely in the future?" Lu Zhu raised her head and asked confusedly. "No, I will definitely live longer than you." Luo Hong deliberately joked. "Well, that's different, master." Lu Zhu's mouth shrank, feeling that she was bullied. The great way is ruthless and hard work makes one a boat. Once you enter the mortal world, you are not an immortal. Since we are determined to achieve immortality, we should not be obsessed with losing. It is enough to have obtained it before. Luo Hong was not a heartless person after all. While preaching, he couldn't help but think of some past events. The girl from the Li family, who had fallen in love with him during the key refining stage, turned into a pile of yellow earth after he returned from the Chaos Star Sea. When they met, they were buried together. It would be a lie to say that he was not sad, but there was nothing he could do. The road to immortality must be accompanied by repeated losses, otherwise how could it be called immortality? Lu Zhu lowered her head, not knowing what she thought of, and suddenly became excited. Luo Hong thought she had understood it and stopped thinking about it, but unexpectedly she pointed to a hawker in front and said, "Master, look, these are candied haws made from spiritual fruits." Looking at Lu Zhu who was trotting to buy snacks, Luo Hong's mouth twitched, but soon shook his head and smiled. Anyway, it was too early for her. Along the way, Luo Hong found that almost every stall or store in this market sold blood ginseng. However, the blood ginseng he saw was decades old and only suitable for cultivators in the key refining stage. "Master, there are many foundation building cultivators in this market. Why don't we see any 100-year-old blood ginseng for sale?" Lu Zhu, whose tribute was refused by Luo Hong, asked curiously while recalling the taste of his childhood. Hey, needless to say, it must be the old routine of fighting and seizing. To gain a foothold in Guangnan Prefecture, it is not enough to have spirit stones alone, but you must have a strong fist, and this King of Ginseng conference is probably a platform for the Sima family to show off their military power. There are only a few sets of rules in the world of cultivating immortals, and Luo Hong can guess the purpose behind the Sima family's blocking of the King of Ginseng conference without thinking. It is nothing more than spreading their name, gaining their benefits, and showing their prestige, forming alliances, and dominating one side. They are really free. "Master, the place we are going to is on that mountain, right? It seems to be guarded by a large formation." Lu Zhu held a bamboo stick and pointed to a double-headed green peak behind the market. It seems that in the past few hundred years, the strength of the Sima family has developed very quickly, and they have occupied both hills. In the memory obtained by soul searching, there was originally another immortal cultivation family on this double-headed peak besides the Sima family, but now it is obviously either destroyed, or the whole family has moved away. The entrance to the Wentian cave mansion is in the belly of the mountain on the east side. According to the experience last time, there will be violent earthquakes when the entrance is opened. Although most of them can be covered up by magic prohibitions, there is now an additional mountain protection formation. Even if there is only a little movement, I'm afraid it will be noticed by the Sima family. After all, the blood ginseng field of the Sima family is on the mountain, and there must be formation masters guarding the formation day and night. However, this difficulty is not a big deal for Luo Hong. At most, he can sneak into the Sima family first, control the cultivators guarding the formation with illusions, and then take action. In this way, Lu Zhu, who has not practiced the key condensation technique to the extreme, can't always follow him. Disciple, since you have come across such an opportunity, you should go and practice it. It's a good opportunity to accumulate some experience in fighting. Yes, Master. I will definitely take back the 100-year-old Ginseng King. 100-year-old blood ginseng can increase the cultivation of foundation building cultivators, and only 500-year-old blood ginseng can help foundation building cultivators break through to the Jiandan stage, which is the 100-year-old Ginseng King. If Lu Zhu wants to take it, he must defeat all the foundation building cultivators here. Haha, if it's so easy, then it's still called practice? You go and try to take the only 1000-year-old blood ginseng and fight with the Jiandan cultivators. Luo Hong chuckled and patted Lu Zhu on the shoulder. "Ah, this, Master." Lu Zhu was about to complain when he found that Luo Hong had disappeared. Chapter 716, Living Human Refining. Let's not talk about how Lu Zhu made a name for himself at the King of Ginseng conference. Luo Hong had already arrived at the foot of the mountain without making any noise. 7 or 8 Jiandan cultivators dressed in brocade and jade robes were walking up the mountain together. Along the way, they were talking happily like good friends who had not seen each other for many years. In fact, they were indeed good friends, and they had not seen each other for many years, but it was not necessarily that they were talking happily. From the conversation, Luo Hong found that these Jiandan cultivators were all the heads of large families nearby. It was precisely because of the opportunity of this conference that they were able to get together. Not long after, a red light escaped from the mountain protection formation, circled in the air, and landed on the mountain road. "Family heads, my ancestor has come out of retreat. Please follow me to the King of Ginseng Palace." The clothes of the visitor were very similar to those of the Sima family cultivators, but they were obviously more luxurious, with a round face and two chins squeezed out when he smiled. He was politely bowing to everyone and inviting them. Senior Sima Zhao has come out of retreat. That's great. Zeduo has some doubts about cultivation and I want to ask for advice. Senior Sima has been in retreat for decades, after forming a nascent soul. I think he has already formed a nascent soul. We can take this opportunity to congratulate him. Alas, Qi doesn't have any gifts to give. You go first. I'll go down the mountain to prepare. Hearing that Sima Zhao had come out of retreat, no matter what everyone thought secretly, they all put on a look of joy and tried their best to flatter. Haha, brother Qi is thoughtful. My ancestor has held a nascent soul ceremony before, and we have received gifts from various families. How can we receive them again now? Don't bother, go to the king's palace to discuss matters. Sima Qian hurriedly stopped the restless people and invited them again. Seeing this group of giant cultivators escape into the mountain gate one by one, Luo Hong did not stop. He took a step out like a leisurely stroll in the garden and disappeared into the formation silently. The divine sense had already locked onto the location of the formation master. Luo Hong immediately performed the 5-element escape technique, turning into a faint breeze that blew towards the mountain. Along the way, Luo Hong passed many ginseng fields. Even during the Ginseng King conference, there were still many low-level monks of the Sima family busy in the fields. During this period, Luo Hong also saw the Sima family's method of cultivating blood ginseng. It was simple to say. Those low-level monks of the Sima family had a gourd on their waists. When cultivating, they would pour a light red liquid in the gourd into the roots of the blood ginseng, and then use magic to encourage it to absorb. The only real secret was the formula of the spiritual liquid. Blood ginseng, a spiritual medicine, was just a substitute for the magic pills for improving mana, and the difference was so great that it naturally did not catch Luo Hong's eye. After about half an hour, after Luo Hong had bypassed an unknown number of buildings, he finally came to a building with a plaque of Shuanglang Pavilion. With a probe of his spiritual sense, Luo Hong discovered that in addition to the guards in the open, there was also an extremely old late giant and cultivator in the building. But his aura was weak, and he looked like he might die of old age at any time. Obviously, he was not a formation master. On the contrary, in a stone room on the second underground floor, there were 3 auras of foundation building cultivators. How can you be so sneaky when you are guarding the mountain guarding formation in your own family? Although Luo Hong felt that something was wrong, he was not afraid of fraud, and then he passed through the external restrictions of Shuanglang Pavilion, as if nothing had happened and sneaked into the building. Hey, brother, why haven't I seen you before? Did you just come back from another place? As soon as he entered the first floor, Luo Hong met a Sima family cultivator in the key refining stage. This cultivator, who looked like a weak scholar, was holding a simple formation plate, walking and comprehending, and suddenly saw a stranger, and asked in doubt. Luo Hong did not explain, and the colorful light in his eyes turned, and the weak scholar fell into the illusion with a dazed look. At this moment, he has become Luo Hong's puppet, and he will forget what happened after waking up. Take me to the second underground floor. Luo Hong ordered lightly. Shuanglang Pavilion only has a first underground floor for storing materials. The weak scholar shook his head slowly. Forget it, go back to sleep. Luo Hong waved his hand to drive him away. It's actually a secret room, don't cause me any trouble. After muttering to himself, Luo Hong walked towards the stairs slowly. Any Sima family cultivator who met him would go to sleep or practice after a period of confusion. Even if the illusion failed, they did not notice any abnormality. The hidden entrance to the second underground floor did not escape Luo Hong's consciousness. Soon he came to a dim space, surrounded by cells, in which many cultivators were imprisoned alone or in groups. The auras of these cultivators were different. Most of them were in the key refining stage, but there were also many in the foundation establishment stage. Luo Hong even sensed the aura of a cultivator in the early stage of the core formation stage. Well, the family dungeon has been built down to the center of the formation. Could it be that this formation can be used for 2 purposes? Luo Hong didn't want to care about the feuds between the immortal cultivation families, because no one side was clean. The weak and oppressed party now might have been the one that oppressed others hundreds of years ago. Quickly passing through the dim corridor, Luo Hong came to the outside of the stone chamber, where the 3 foundation building auras were. Just as he was about to pass through the stone wall and cast an illusion on the 3 people, the entire second underground floor suddenly lit up. I saw that the countless Sanskrit runes on the stone slabs all lit up, illuminating the second underground floor in a bright yellow, and the corridors were filled with Buddhist sounds. The immortal cultivators in the cells obviously didn't know what was going on, and they all looked around in confusion. This spiritual energy flow is not good. Luo Hong saw something wrong at a glance, but he didn't know this formation, and he had no motivation to save people, so he just watched quietly. After a dozen breaths, the Buddhist sound reverberating in the second underground floor was clearly audible. Luo Hong knew it had the ability to stimulate blood and qi. However, the power was very weak. Even a cultivator in the qi refining stage would only feel a little uncomfortable as long as he kept his mind focused. But the fact was not so. Every cultivator in the cell, regardless of their cultivation level, had a flushed face at this moment, and their blood and qi were surging wildly. As the Buddhist sound became louder, the blood and qi in their bodies became more and more manic, making them, regardless of whether they were men or women, look hideous with swollen blood vessels, and their screams were even more deafening. After the first explosion, cultivators continued to explode and die, one after another like firecrackers. What was particularly strange was that the blood mist that exploded did not dissipate. Although the remaining bones were blown away, only the skull was suspended in the blood mist. Luo Hong narrowed his eyes and felt angry. He realized that the Sima family was using living people to refine magic tools, and they were refining them in batches. How cruel. It seems that this is not just a family feud. Chapter 717 Discussion in the Hall. If it was just a simple family feud, it would be a dog-eat-dog fight. No matter how miserable these people died, Luo Hong would not feel pity. But the current situation clearly showed that the Sima family was using living people to refine weapons in a planned way. As a fellow human, it was difficult for Luo Hong to accept the scene of his kind being slaughtered like livestock in front of him. This had nothing to do with acquired good or evil, but was an innate disgust. Without much hesitation, Luo Hong stretched out his right palm with a gloomy face, and then grabbed out of thin air, and immediately used the power of heaven and earth to tear open the door of a prison cell. Then, Luo Hong turned his palm slightly, and a figure was quickly captured by him from a distance. Even though this person's face was hideous at the moment, it could still be seen from his appearance and cultivation that he was a direct descendant of a great family of immortal cultivators. However, Luo Hong chose to save him, only because he practiced the art of body refining, and could hold on longer than others. With a twist of his sword finger, Luo Hong took out a soul-suppressing talisman. He neatly stuck the talisman on the man's forehead, and immediately suppressed the restless blood in his body. Then, he threw the man to the ground, and walked through the stone wall into the stone chamber. One of the 3 Sima family array masters in the stone chamber was about to stand up, as if he had noticed something strange outside, and was ready to go and check. At this time, he happened to see Luo Hong coming through the wall, and his body froze in the middle of the way, making a strange posture that was neither sitting nor standing. Luo Hong did not give these people a chance to react. As soon as he came in, he snorted coldly, and knocked the other 2 people unconscious with his crushing spiritual sense. Seeing the 2 brothers suddenly fall down without any resistance, the frozen array master's fear had reached the extreme. However, before he could scream, his body flew towards Luo Hong involuntarily. After coming to his senses, he found that his head had been covered by a palm. Soul-searching technique. As soon as the thought came to his mind, a torn soul pain made his face distorted to a terrifying degree. His eyes rolled back wildly, and his mouth opened, but could not make a sound. With Luo Hong's transformation of the spirit, it was easy to search the soul of a foundation building cultivator. In just a few breaths, he read through the life of this formation master who was less than 100 years old. However, although this person was in charge of the formation here, he didn't know much. Luo Hong could only be sure that they were indeed using living people to refine magic tools here. The cultivators in the cell were escorted by family cultivators, and their origins were quite complicated, and not limited to Guangnan Prefecture. Therefore, this was definitely not a waste of family enemies, but an organized and planned magic behavior. Secondly, Luo Hong also learned that the reason why these cultivators were so easily controlled by Buddhist music was because of the Sima family's foundation, blood ginseng. In the Ginseng King Hall of Shuanqin Mountain, a young man with star-shaped eyebrows and sword-like eyes and skin as tender as a child sat high on the first seat, and at this moment he greeted a group of Jinden family heads with a friendly look. "Come here, quickly serve tea, and take the treasures I have collected. Senior Sima is too polite. We came here empty-handed. How can we be treated like this by you? Yes, you really embarrassed us." After being polite to each other, the heads of the Jinden stage sat on both sides of the hall, while Sima Qian, who looked quite kind, stood beside his ancestor. "You don't have to be so reserved. I, Sima Zhao, just took a step ahead and broke through the nascent soul stage by chance. Back then, we often sat together and drank and talked happily. Haha, I believe you will catch up soon." Seeing everyone sitting down, Sima Zhao smiled and eased the reserved atmosphere in the hall. He had only been a nascent soul for 30 or 40 years, and before that he was only a cultivator in the late Jinden stage. Naturally, he was of the same generation as these heads of the family, and they had quite a good relationship with each other. Therefore, when they heard Sima Zhao talking about the old relationship, everyone's faces couldn't help but become more natural, and many people put down a big stone in their hearts. Although Guangnan Prefecture is rich in immortal cultivation resources, there are more immortal cultivators, and they are divided up by many immortal cultivation families, making it difficult to support cultivators in the nascent soul stage. However, in history, there is no shortage of cultivators with far superior qualifications to break through this bottleneck and cultivate to the nascent soul stage. Generally speaking, as long as a family has a nascent soul cultivator, the family will begin to expand either gently or violently, swallowing up the interests of other immortal cultivation families. And once this nascent soul cultivator dies, the family will quickly go downhill, either actively or passively spit out the previous gains. This kind of thing has happened more than once in Guangnan Prefecture, and it can even be said that the local old families have become accustomed to it. However, when Sima Zhao broke through the nascent soul stage 30 or 40 years ago and held the nascent soul ceremony, the Sima family did not take any action, which was obviously very abnormal and strange. The Sima family's inaction did not make people feel at ease, but made the surrounding immortal cultivation families uneasy all day long. Since ancient times, waiting to die is 100 times more terrifying than death. Therefore, before the Sima family took action, another family on Shuanqin Mountain took the initiative to move away and wiped out a small family with only a foundation building family thousands of miles away and settled down again. At this time, although the families of the Jinden family heads in the King of Cannabis Palace were not so close to Shuanqin Mountain, Guangnan Prefecture was not a prefecture, and it was only a prefecture. It only took 17 or 18 days to go around a circle with the speed of a Yuanying cultivator. It can be said that many immortal cultivation families in Guangnan Prefecture are now under the threat of Sima Zhao. Otherwise, a King of Cannabis conference would not allow the heads of the major families in Guangnan Prefecture to come so collectively. They just wanted to take the opportunity to find out the movements of the Sima family. Even if the other party wanted to expand, it was not impossible to negotiate. With such a mood, everyone naturally breathed a sigh of relief when they heard Sima Zhao trying to make friends right away. Brother Sima really thinks highly of us. Q's cultivation has been stagnant in the late stage of Jinying for more than 100 years, and there is no hope for him to form a nascent soul. Anyone who can condense a nascent soul is a genius. We are still a little worse than Brother Sima. Yes, I will ask the Sima family to help us in the future. Sima Zhao gave a signal of goodwill, and the heads of the Jinden families did not hesitate to praise each other. Alas, fellow practitioners are too self-deprecating. Zhao did not break through the nascent soul entirely by his own strength. The main credit is the 1000-year-old ginseng king of my Sima family. If it were not for its medicinal power, how could Zhao be so successful today? However, there is one thing that Zhao can't figure out. I heard from Kaina that you all don't allow my Sima family to open a ginseng store in your family market. But what's the problem with my Sima family's blood ginseng? Sima Zhao still said with a smile on his face, scanning everyone with a rather gentle look. Upon hearing this, the palace of the king of Shen suddenly became so quiet that one could hear a pin drop, and the faces of the heads of the Chindan families could not help but look a little ugly. P.S. Oh my god, I overestimated my recovery ability. I will update 4000 chapters today, and there will be another chapter later. Chapter 718 Eating Ginseng. Is blood ginseng good? This is a question that is not worth asking for most of the cultivators in Guangnan Prefecture. Just because blood ginseng can improve the cultivation of immortals, it is a spiritual medicine worth fighting for. Not to mention, blood ginseng with a high age can also help immortals break through bottlenecks. On this point, Sima Zhao has personally stood up for it with his deeds of breaking through the nascent soul. So there is no doubt that blood ginseng is good. But why do the immortal families in Guangnan Prefecture, which have Jindan cultivators sitting in charge, disagree with the Sima family opening a ginseng store in their own market? And looking at the surprised eyes of the Jindan family heads in the hall, when they looked at each other, it is obvious that this was not something they had discussed, but a decision made by coincidence. Inferring from reason, this is very unreasonable. After all, the families of these family heads will not sell elixirs that can improve cultivation or help break through bottlenecks because their own family members are not enough. Therefore, the blood ginseng business of the Sima family will not cause them to suffer extremely serious spiritual stone losses. This was the only move of the Sima family after Sima Zhao had formed a nascent soul. With the face of a nascent soul cultivator, they should have decisively agreed to the expansion of the Sima family to this extent. But they did not hesitate to risk becoming the target of being killed as a warning to others, and also rejected the Sima family. There was no other reason, just because these local snakes were very keen to discover one thing. For some reason, there were many fewer cultivators in Guangnan Prefecture, and the missing cultivators all had records of taking blood ginseng. Although they had no evidence to prove that there was a necessary relationship between the two, cultivators, especially higher level cultivators, often did not believe in evidence, but only in spiritual perception. After these Chindan family heads noticed something was wrong, they naturally would not allow blood ginseng to flow into their own market, because in that case, most of the buyers of blood ginseng would be cultivators of their own clan. However, they were also afraid of offending the Sima family, so after rejecting the Sima family, they did not tell other families about this matter, just to let other families protect their own family from disaster. After all, if it was just the loss of a market, it might not be unacceptable to the Sima family. But who would have thought that there was more than one smart one? For a moment, the eyes of the Chindan family heads were quite complicated. Speak up, what's wrong with the blood ginseng of my Sima family? Why can you unite to ban it? Sima Zhao slammed the table halfway through his words, released his spiritual pressure as an early Yuanian cultivator, and angrily said the second half of the sentence. Brother Sima has misunderstood. It's not that the blood ginseng is bad, but that my key family is too poor. The cultivators in the family don't have many spiritual stones. I'm afraid that Brother Sima will lose money, so I have to do this. Oh. Then my Sima family should thank Brother Qi for his concern. Sima Zhao narrowed his eyes and said with a look of being about to get angry. Haha, I dare not. I really have too little money to buy the spiritual medicine from you. Yes, my Hao family's spiritual stone mine was also dug out 50 years ago. I'm now increasingly unable to support this large family. Alas, there is no way. Guangnan Prefecture has been peaceful for 1,000 years. Our family has stood firm. There are more and more family members in the family, and the spiritual stones are becoming less and less enough to spend. Yes, although the blood ginseng is good, we really can't afford it. Seeing that a meeting was about to turn into a complaint meeting, Sima Khan's face suddenly became gloomy. He knew very well that what these Chindan family heads said was just excuses. After all, blood ginseng with a medicinal age of several decades is not expensive. Even casual cultivators can afford it if they grit their teeth, not to mention these immortal cultivation families that have been entrenched in Guangnan Prefecture for thousands of years. At this time, he couldn't help but look at his ancestor, only to see that the other party's angry expression suddenly turned, and he actually laughed softly. So that's the case. Zio thought that you fellow Taoists had some misunderstandings about the blood ginseng of my Sima family. Since you all have hardships, Zio must also be considerate. At this time, everyone's faces showed more or less relief, and they actually understood it very well. The original guess was basically confirmed when Sima Zio questioned them, so they united to find an excuse to hold back and refuse. In fact, they secretly united to put pressure on Sima Zio. Although the Yuanian cultivators are powerful, they will still be unable to bear it if they are besieged by more than a dozen Jiandan cultivators. The reason why the Yuanian cultivators who appeared in Guangnan Prefecture in the past were able to expand smoothly was because the large families did not have common interests and could not work together. After all, the unlucky ones were only the ones closest to them. But this time, the Sima family showed mild means, but they were ready to infringe on the interests of all families, so this situation occurred. Then my Sima family will reduce the price of blood ginseng by 20%, so that all the cultivators in the families can afford it. How about that? Sima Zio said in a cold tone. As soon as he said this, it was obvious that he was not going to leave any room for slowdown. His Sima family's blood ginseng was going to be sold all over Guangnan Prefecture. HMPH. Then I'll be sorry to leave you alone. Goodbye. When he first entered the King of Ginseng Palace, the head of the Qi family might have been afraid of Sima Zio's identity as an early Yuanian cultivator. Now that he had tacitly formed an alliance with many Jiandan family heads, he naturally became bolder and stood up to leave without any courtesy. And as he expected, seeing him take the lead, the other Jiandan family heads also wanted to go down the mountain together without much respect. HMPH. If you don't accept my toast, you will be punished. Do you think you can leave after entering my King of Ginseng Palace and not agreeing to my conditions? Seeing this, Sima Zio no longer pretended and said with a gloomy face, Sima Zio, you are just a newly promoted Yuanian cultivator. Don't think you are so powerful. There are so many of us. If we attack you in groups, you will surely die miserably in this hall today. Since the head of the Qi family has taken the lead, he is not afraid of offending the Sima family anymore at this moment, and he threatened fiercely. How dare you? Sima Qian shouted angrily, and just as he was about to teach the head of the Qi family a lesson, he was stopped by Sima Zio, who stood up. Yes, with my cultivation level, I'm not a match for you in a one-on-one fight. I just wonder if you have heard of the name of 10 fragrance powder? 10 fragrance powder? Several Jiandan family heads immediately said to themselves in doubt. Obviously, the 10 fragrance powder is not a common thing. Oh no, the tea is poisonous, and my magic power cannot be mobilized. Suddenly, a cry of surprise was heard, and everyone immediately panicked and checked their danshan after hearing it, fearing that they would also be poisoned. This is impossible. I clearly didn't drink tea. It's the tea fragrance. The tea fragrance is poisonous. There are many smart and clever people among the family heads. Seeing that no one was spared, they immediately figured out how they were tricked. Sima Zio, you actually use the 10 deadly poisons to deal with us. The head of the Qi family is the one with the highest cultivation among the crowd, and he has a wide range of knowledge. After finding out his own condition, he thought of a legendary poison. Haha, there is no way. Your strength should not be underestimated. I can only be extravagant. Sima Zio did not feel ashamed at all, but smiled triumphantly. Sima Zio, there are more than us Jiandan cultivators in our family. If you kill us today, we will let the entire Sima family be buried with you in the future. Seeing that the situation was hopeless, the head of the Hao family could not help but curse with a ferocious face. Don't be afraid, everyone. I'm not going to take your lives. I will let you go later, but before that, Sima Zio laughed coldly twice, then suddenly clapped his hands and said, someone, come and feed the family head some ginseng. Chapter 719, Green Bamboo's Experience. At the foot of Shuanqin Mountain, in the Sima family market, Luo Zhu, who had finally gone out, wandered around with interest after Luo Hong left. Seeing that she was alone and generous, others did not bother her, but mostly avoided her. Perhaps because she had seen a lot of things by Luo Hong's side. After the novelty wore off, Lu Zhu soon lost interest in the low-level spiritual objects sold in the shop. Just as she was about to complete the training that Luo Hong had told her to do, she found that she did not know where the venue of the King of Ginseng conference was. At this moment, Lu Zhu, who looked around with a worried look on her face, attracted the attention of a middle-aged man. "Is this lady an immortal master from outside? I'm Giantishan, the hyacinth here, and I'm willing to serve you." Although Giantishan was well dressed and had a strong body, he had dark skin and many calluses on his hands. It was obvious that he came here from the countryside to make a living. It was unknown how he became a hyacinth who specialized in serving immortal cultivators. "Hyacinth? Great, I'm going to the venue of the king's conference. You lead the way. Don't worry, the spirit stones will be yours." Seeing that the visitor was just a mortal, Luo immediately believed him and said with joy, "Okay, miss, please follow me. The venue of the king's conference is on the other side of Shuanqin Mountain, which is very far away, and there is a ban in the market that prevents flying. We have to get out of this market first." Jiang, who successfully received a business, led the way very respectfully. It was not easy for him to open his business every day. Under Jiang guidance, Luo took a detour from a small road and quickly left the area of the market. Sensing the disappearance of the ban, Luo immediately slapped his storage bag, sacrificed a snow white and transparent spirit boat, and jumped on it with a light step. "Come on, we'll fly over for the next leg." "Hey, what are you doing? Haven't you ever been on a spirit boat?" Lu Zhu was telling Jiang to get on one before leaving, but he suddenly took off his backpack and took out a fur coat from it. "Although I haven't been on such a good one, I've had the honor of flying twice. It's just that the sky is too cold, so I have to put on more clothes first, otherwise my body won't be able to support it." Jiang was afraid that Lu Zhu would be dissatisfied, so he quickly put on his clothes and explained, "Haha, you're really an old hyacinth. You're so thoughtful. But don't bother, I'll put on a windproof talisman for you, so you don't have to suffer from the cold wind." Lu Zhu chuckled, then without thinking, she clamped a spirit talisman, shook her wrist, and threw it towards Jiang chest. "Ah, this." Jiang looked at the layer of light blue wind ball surrounding his body, and suddenly didn't know what to say. He could only collect 3 spiritual stones at most for this trip to Finxinzi, but the spiritual talisman thrown by the other party was enough to keep him busy for a month. For a while, Jiang used words of praise such as kind-hearted and generous to praise Lu Zhu. After flying around the foot of Shuanqin Mountain for half an hour, Lu Zhu finally saw the venue of the King of Cannabis conference. 9 huge arenas covered by the forbidden light curtain were arranged in a circle. The one in the middle was particularly large, 3 times the length and width of the other 8. From the air, there were cultivators fighting on the 8 small arenas surrounding the outer circle, and the attacks were very fierce, which was very different from the academy competition that Lu Zhu had participated in. As a mortal, Jiang was indeed very novel to fly in the sky, but the impression left on him by the previous 2 times was that he was shivering with cold. Now with the protection of the windproof talisman, he had the leisure to overlook the beautiful scenery from the air. Of course, the beautiful scenery on the ground did not make him forget his job. As soon as he arrived near the venue, he said, "This Ginseng King conference is held once every 10 years. I have only been here twice before, but I also know that the 8 arenas around are specially designed for cultivators in the foundation building realm. As long as there are cultivators who can defend the arena until midnight tonight, they can get 100-year-old blood ginseng. On the second day, these 8 people will challenge each other, and the strongest one will be awarded the 100-year-old Ginseng King. Alas, there are many casualties in each world's Ginseng King conference. Girl, you can watch the excitement, but don't show off your strength." "Oh, what about the big arena in the middle?" Lu Zhu thought that she didn't have the opportunity to show off her strength, so she looked at the arena in the center and asked. "The big arena didn't light up the first 2 times, and I don't know how it turned on this time. It is difficult for low-level cultivators to contact Chindan cultivators, let alone Jiang, a mortal, who was also suspicious." That's it. Let's go take a look. Luo Zhu knew it was her training place as soon as she heard it. With a thought, she drove the spirit boat to the center of the ring. Compared with the crowds of people in the 8 outer rings, there were not many cultivators around the central ring. Luo Zhu looked around and saw only 3 or 4 giant cultivators. The remaining dozen or so were all foundation building cultivators of varying levels of cultivation. Moreover, each of these giant cultivators had distinct characteristics, either covering their bodies with black robes or wearing masks. Anyway, they tried their best to conceal their identities. Why do they all seem to be independent cultivators? Do the big families look down on the reward of the 1,000-year-old blood ginseng? Luo Zhu muttered to herself and looked at the ring. She saw a giant and early stage cultivator with rather strong arms sitting cross-legged in the center of the ring, waiting with his eyes closed. It seems that his magic power is not as pure as mine, but it doesn't seem that difficult to deal with. Let's use him to deal with Master. Luo Zhu knew that Luo Hong just wanted her to gain experience in fighting with high-level cultivators, not that she really had to seize the 1,000-year-old blood ginseng. After all, no matter how powerful a foundation building cultivator is, he can't defeat the round-robin battle of giant cultivators. Therefore, she didn't pick her opponent at the moment, let alone talk about any strategy to seize the ginseng. However, just as she was about to go on stage, a purple escape light suddenly flew into the light curtain. Someone actually got there first. The person who went on stage was a female cultivator in palace dress. Although she covered her face with a veil, her beauty could still be seen faintly. The purple Luo skirt was quite beautiful. The little girl Luo Zhu was moved by what she saw, and her pretty face blushed slightly. Who are you? There is no one like you in Guangnan Prefecture. The moment the purple-clothed female cultivator went on stage, the sturdy cultivator guarding the ring opened his eyes and stared at the other party with lightning eyes. This King of Ginseng conference is not only open to monks from Guangnan Prefecture. Why do you care where I come from? If you don't take action, get off the stage. Facing the imposing pressure of the sturdy monk, the purple-clothed female cultivator said very impolitely, HMPH. You are so sharp-tongued. Don't expect Hong to be sympathetic, and look at the magic weapon. As soon as the voice fell, the sturdy monk sacrificed a short-handled giant hammer, and with the help of magic power, it expanded to the size of a house. The purple-clothed female cultivator was not to be outdone. She flipped her hand and sacrificed a yellow handkerchief. After throwing it into the air, it turned into a huge curtain. Chapter 720 Purple-robed female cultivator. Under the center stage, Luo Zhu watched the two people fighting fiercely with magic weapons for a long time without saying a word, secretly feeling very stressed. As a sharp weapon that can only be used by cultivators above the giant stage, the power of the magic weapon is beyond doubt. Before this, Luo Zhu had only heard about it, and Luo Hong's great magical power that could suppress everything at any time was not of any reference value at all, so she now truly realized the essential gap in combat power between foundation building cultivators and giant cultivators. Jiang Tishan was standing under the stage at this moment, feeling the slight vibrations from time to time under his feet, and was already distracted by the power of giant cultivators. The Grand Shenhuan Conference, which is held once every 60 years, is too far away for mortals. In the past, most of the immortal cultivators he had come into contact with were only in the key refining stage. The scene of the flying giant hammer and the brocade handkerchief covering the sky in front of him was already far beyond his cognition. Excuse me, young lady, which of these two immortals has a better chance of winning? It should be Senior Ziyi. Luo Zhu responded with his eyes fixed. HMPH. How dare you make up stories about my master with your mere foundation building cultivation. As soon as Luo Zhu finished speaking, a scolding voice came from the side, and 3 men and women dressed in hunting clothes were glaring at Luo Zhu. Are you the disciples of the senior guarding the ring? Although Luo Zhu knew that he was in trouble, he turned around and asked fearlessly. That's right. Daoist friend has profound cultivation, and we shouldn't have provoked you, but my master cannot be insulted lightly. Please come with us to the ring. The tiger skin coat man in the lead said with his eyes wide open, as if he was determined to fight Luo Zhu. Farewell, your master will definitely leave immediately after losing, and won't you ask your master to wait for you then? Seeing his aggressiveness, Luo Zhu also replied without hesitation. What makes you say that your father will lose? It was clearly your father who was suppressing the purple-clothed senior. The rabbit fur woman on the side said with a gloomy face and a sharp gaze. It's obvious. Although the senior defending the ring is aggressive, each attack obviously consumes more mana. Now he is at a disadvantage in this magic weapon competition. Since he wants to defend the ring, he has to fight quickly. After several rounds, he still hasn't changed his tactics to defeat the enemy. I guess he doesn't have any other magic weapons. And the senior in purple has been very comfortable so far. He probably has a backup plan. In comparison, I just said, should to save face for your master. In addition to practicing with Luo Hong, Luo Zhu learned his habit of liking to present facts and reason with others. But she didn't know that it is very dangerous to reason with people and enlighten them in this world. Sure enough, after hearing the words, the three disciples were stunned for a moment. Although they were shaken in their hearts, the anger on their faces became even stronger. Fortunately, just before the three of them launched their attack, a cry of surprise suddenly came from the ring. Sunu sword. Everyone looked up and saw a snow-white sword dragon that had flown into the air at some point and was now stabbing at the sturdy monk. Hearing the name of the Sunu sword, the spectators could not help but discuss it. After all, this sword was a famous magic weapon, and it was extremely difficult to refine, but the corresponding power was also extremely strong. It had always been owned by the giant and monks of the big sects. On the stage, the sturdy monk knew that he had reached a critical moment, but he was greedy and wanted to fight again, but he took out a dark red round shield with a fixed gaze. Then, he did not sacrifice it, but pressed it hard on his chest. Suddenly, the dark red round shield seemed to come alive, and a demon eye suddenly opened in the center, sucking the blood of the sturdy monk, and it became bright red. At the same time, a layer of blood-colored shield also wrapped it tightly. The next moment, the sword dragon transformed by the Sunu sword slashed down, and the white light and the blood light collided immediately. For a moment, no one could do anything to the other. Just when everyone thought that the two sides would be deadlocked for a few breaths, the white sword light suddenly turned from extremely hard to extremely soft, and it tightly entangled the blood light shield like a white python. At this time, the short-handled giant hammer in the air wanted to come back to help, but was blocked by the yellow brocade handkerchief. Fairy, stop it. Huang admits defeat. As soon as the voice fell, the blood-colored spiritual light suddenly dimmed, and the sword light was no longer dazzling. Everyone immediately saw that the sturdy monk had been entangled like a zanzi by a stretched flying sword. The combination of hardness and softness is a reason why the Sunu sword is famous in Dajin. After the victory and defeat, the purple-clothed female cultivator did not embarrass the sturdy monk, and immediately collected the flying sword and let him go. After this fight, although the purple-clothed female cultivator did not hurt the sturdy monk, his magic weapon sucked a lot of his essence and blood. Therefore, his face was pale at the moment, and his mood was even worse. When he stepped down from the stage with a gloomy face, the female cultivator in rabbit fur immediately reported Luo Zhu's mischief. Humph. Didn't your master teach you not to be disrespectful to high-level cultivators? The sturdy cultivator's eyes were full of anger, and he was about to teach Luo Zhu a lesson. I'm just telling the truth, senior. Please don't be angry. Luo Zhu responded casually. She was not afraid of the other party. After all, Luo Hong had left her enough things to protect herself. What a good truth. Since you, the junior, are so capable, why don't you compete with my eldest disciple to see if your skills are as powerful as your mouth? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the sturdy cultivator didn't want to bully the weak, so he provoked him like this. It's not impossible, but you have to line up. After that, Luo Zhu flew into the air, passed through the light curtain, and landed on the stage. I, the junior Luo Zhu, have been ordered by my master to seize the 1000-year-old blood ginseng. Senior, please teach me. As he spoke, Luo Zhu released his aura, and the late-stage foundation building cultivator was immediately revealed to everyone. Seeing this scene, the onlookers were immediately stunned. A foundation building cultivator was actually challenging a giant and cultivator. It was simply ridiculous. Did you take the wrong medicine, Junior? Get off quickly. The purple-clothed female cultivator frowned slightly, thinking that Lu Zhu was playing around, and couldn't help but shout angrily. Senior, it's difficult to disobey the master's order. Sorry, there is no referee on the stage of the Ginseng King conference. As long as you go on stage, you have signed a life and death agreement, and can start immediately. At that moment, before the purple-clothed female cultivator could react, Lu Zhu took the lead in offering the Zuanbing sword. Although she was attacking by surprise, there was no other way. After watching the battle just now, Lu Zhu knew that the purple-clothed female cultivator was not an opponent she could defeat in a fair fight. If it was the sturdy monk in the audience, there would still be some possibility. After all, he couldn't be said to be the weakest type of Jiandan monk. With only the initial cultivation and only one life magic weapon, it can be said that it was Lu Zhu's luck to meet him. But experience does not take luck into account, so Lu Zhu immediately realized that perhaps the master wanted her to learn sneak attacks and other useful but unpleasant means. Because just like now, there is often only one chance to win. P.S. Lay the groundwork for the plot of the Buddhist sect. The protagonist will appear tomorrow. Chapter 721 Landslide. After searching her body, Lu Zhu found that apart from the life-saving item left by her master, only the Zuanbing sword could rival the magic weapon of a Jiandan cultivator. She immediately made a full-strength move, and the ice sword she sacrificed was surrounded by ice mist, and the cold wind whistled like a dragon. In terms of momentum, it was not much worse than the short-handled giant hammer and the goose yellow brocade handkerchief just now. The sturdy cultivators in the audience saw this scene and couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. They secretly sighed that Lu Zhu's magic power was pure and his skills were superb. With a frown on his brows, he was already a little regretful. The purple-clothed female cultivator on the stage felt it more deeply at this time. The sudden drop in temperature and the surging spiritual energy around them all told of the power of Lu Zhu's sword. At that moment, she didn't have time to think about it. She turned her sword finger a little and sacrificed the Sunu sword without holding back. The next moment, the two flying swords, one ice and one white, met in the air. After a violent crisp sound, the Zuanbing sword was fiercely bounced out. What a powerful magical weapon. It can withstand the sword of Sunu without breaking. The male cultivator in the tiger skin coat seemed to have forgotten his grudge with Lu Zhu at this moment and exclaimed sincerely, what a generous hand. I wonder which Taoist friend is willing to use such spiritual materials to refine a mere magical weapon. A Jiandan cultivator in a black robe in the distance said with a sour tone. However, although the cultivators below the stage were talking about it and praising it, they all thought that Lu Zhu's nonsense had come to an end. But only the purple-clothed female cultivator knew that she had fallen into a trap and suffered a loss in this round of fighting. The cold fog dissipated, and the Sunu sword that everyone thought would be placed on Lu Zhu's neck was actually sealed in thin ice. The life magic weapon was damaged, and the purple-clothed female cultivator felt a chill entering her body, and the mana in her meridians immediately became inoperative. Whether it was casting spells or driving magic weapons, it would be slower than normal. Although Zhu was also injured in the fight, this injury was not worth mentioning in comparison. It was just a sharp pain in the soul. Seeing that the plan was successful, Zhu immediately suppressed the discomfort and urged his magic power to continuously shoot out the ice soul silver needles. This spell, which was derived from the ordinary ice needle technique, has almost become Zhu's innate magical power under the perfect practice compiled by Luo Hong and the addition of his own body. Not only is it easy to use, but it is also extremely powerful and can fully exert the power of the ice soul cold air. I saw that the crystal clear silver light continued to condense in front of Zhu. The first batch had just whoosh and flew out, and the next batch had almost taken shape. At this time, the purple-clothed female cultivator could only turn the goose yellow brocade handkerchief into a curtain and form a cloth wall to resist. So, a jaw-dropping scene appeared on the ring. A dignified Jiandan cultivator was actually beaten by a foundation-building cultivator. As more and more cold air escaped after the ice needles burst, the spiritual light of the cloth wall gradually dimmed, and the ice crystals slowly spread. Now, even those who thought that Luo Zhu would bring shame upon herself could not help but hesitate. After all, as long as the cloth wall sacrificed by the purple-clothed female cultivator collapsed, she would be defeated. Everyone secretly guessed that this woman was a Xianjiao disciple of Tai sect who went down the mountain to practice. Although the current situation was very good, Luo Zhu knew that the outcome was far from being determined. The power of the ice mist would have to be repeated for several more rounds before the cultivator in the early stage of Jianden would succumb. Before that, if she ran out of mana first, the outcome would be reversed immediately. Only if she did not make any mistakes, as a foundation building cultivator, could she possibly defeat the Jianden cultivator. It's almost there. It's almost there. There are only 3 rounds left, and my mana can hold on. However, just as Luo Zhu gritted her teeth and persisted, the aura of the purple-clothed female cultivator in the ice mist suddenly increased significantly, and her cultivation level actually jumped from the early stage of Jianden to the middle stage of Jianden. There is no doubt that this might be the normal cultivation of the purple-clothed female cultivator. The next moment, the goose yellow brocade handkerchief spiritual light surged, rolling like a flying skirt, and instantly wrapped all the surrounding ice fog in it. The purple-clothed female cultivator took the opportunity to soar into the air and broke the killing array of green bamboo. Her crystal eyes flashed with anger. With a wave of her arms, 2 streams of purple air flew out and condensed into 2 purple foxes halfway. Looking at the purple-clothed female cultivator in the air, Green Bamboo didn't know why he thought that the other party was particularly beautiful. His cheeks couldn't help but turn red, and even his reaction was much slower. Charm. So powerful. After the purple-clothed female cultivator exposed her cultivation in the middle stage of the Jianden, Green Bamboo knew that she was doomed to lose. The huge gap in magic power was enough to wipe out all the conspiracies and tricks. After coming back to her senses from the weird state, the 2 purple foxes condensed by magic had approached her. Green Bamboo could only take out a talisman with a gold background and silver lines, while opening her mouth to admit defeat. At this moment, a shocking loud noise suddenly came from behind everyone. For a moment, whether it was the Green Bamboo and purple-clothed female cultivators on the stage or the crowd watching the fight below the stage, they all turned back to see what happened. As a result, they all saw the spectacular sight of the mountain collapsing at the same time. A hilltop on Shuangqin Mountain collapsed. An hour ago, the second floor underground of the Shuanglang Pavilion of the Sima family. After casually throwing away the foundation building cultivator whose soul had collapsed, Luo Hong did not search for the souls of the other 2 formation masters. They were just tools who followed orders and only knew how to activate the formation and refine weapons. They knew nothing else. After killing 1 person, Luo Hong's disgust was much lessened, but after pondering for a moment, he felt that he had to take care of this matter. If the Sima family was still like before, occupying only a hilltop on Shuangqin Mountain, even if Luo Hong could not stand their demonic behavior, he would at most destroy the Sima family's ruler to shock them. But now the Sima family has expanded their influence to the hilltop where the entrance to the Wentian cave is located. He had to find out who was behind this. After all, Luo Hong was not sure that he could successfully remove the Enlightenment Tea Tree. He might have to come several times. He didn't want to be robbed by others. A family of immortal cultivators led by Yuanying early stage cultivator was not within the sphere of influence of the demonic way. They must have been backed by a powerful force to dare to act like this. Only after finding out clearly could he decide how to deal with it. Thinking of this, Luo Hong violently opened the door of the stone chamber, ignoring the triggered restrictions, and stretched out his hand to take the tender young man in. Without the presidency of the formation master, the refining formation outside the stone chamber had already stopped. Although the young cultivator was still unconscious, he no longer looked painful. After removing the soul-suppressing talisman on the young cultivator's forehead, Luo Hong first shot a stream of pure magic power at him, and then flicked out a pill with his fingers for him to swallow. With this 2-pronged approach, the young monk's face gradually turned ruddy in just a few breaths. "Wake up." At this time, Luo Hong shouted softly with a voice full of spiritual consciousness, and the young monk's eyelids immediately trembled. Sima Zhao in the Kanwang Palace also received feedback from the forbidden power not long ago. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 722 Exposed. Where am I? Am I dead? Kibuxiu opened his eyes in a daze. He had been living in a daze these days, and could not remember where he was. I was going to die, but Luo saved you. Boy, do you remember how you got here? Luo Hong looked at Kibuxiu sitting against the wall expressionlessly and asked slowly. Senior, my last memory was practicing in the spiritual room at home. May I ask what day of the month it is today? Kibuxiu's spiritual sense swept over Luo Hong, but he could not sense any magical power, as if he had met a mortal. He was shocked and realized that he had met a master, so he said respectfully, the 9th day of the Gan month. What? It's been 9 days. What on earth have I been doing for these 9 days? Why don't I have any memory at all? Hiss. Kibuxiu was terrified when he heard this. After all, his life was hanging by a thread every moment during these 9 days. He tried hard to recall, but suddenly he had a splitting headache and couldn't help but cry out in pain. Seeing this, Luo Hong immediately probed his spiritual sense and found that the man's soul had no defects or restrictions, but it was faintly glowing with blood, and it was obvious that someone had tampered with it. Don't think about the past 9 days. Let me ask you, have you ever taken blood ginseng or encountered any strange things before? Kibuxiu should have spent most of the past 9 days in this dungeon. Even if he remembered it, it would be meaningless. Luo Hong wanted to know more about blood ginseng. This seems to be all. Kibuxiu pondered for a while, as if he remembered something, and said with a rather ugly face. It turned out that Kibuxiu had an adventure a few months ago. At that time, he was going to the family's resource point to check the accounts, but he unexpectedly encountered a foundation building evil cultivator driving evil spirits to besiege a group of people on the way. Hearing a woman calling for help, he really couldn't bear it, so he drove away the evil cultivator and saved the convoy. Then the owner of the caravan brought his young daughter to thank him personally and presented him with a bag of 100-year-old blood ginseng as a thank you gift. 100-year-old blood ginseng can improve Kibuxiu's cultivation, so he naturally accepted it with pleasure and escorted him attentively. After he finished his family affairs and returned home, he immediately closed himself off to refine the blood ginseng until he woke up today. Now that I think about it carefully, the owner of the caravan that day was just an ordinary person, and his young daughter was only at the level of key refining. Even if I saved his life, I shouldn't have been so generous. Now that I think about it, it's really a bit strange. Kibuxiu said after realizing it. Humph, it's not that you didn't think about it at the time, but you fell into her charm from the moment you heard the cry for help. The appearance of the young daughter of the mortal rich businessman should not be bad, right? Luo Hong said bluntly without any politeness. Ahem, I'm ashamed of you, senior. Kibuxiu's eyes flickered, and he said very unnaturally. Luo Hong had no time to teach this young master a lesson. He had basically understood the function of blood ginseng. Obviously, if you eat too much of this thing, you will inevitably lose your mind and be controlled by others. It is precisely because of this that the Sima family was able to capture so many immortal cultivators without making any noise. In addition, judging from the fact that the Sima family was determined to capture Kibuxiu, they must have a certain demand for foundation building cultivators. The most likely possibility is that it was a task assigned by the forces behind them. While Luo Hong was thinking, Kibuxiu had almost rested under the care of the elixir. He stood up from the ground and walked to the 2 unconscious formation masters not far away, grabbing their sleeves and looking through them. It is indeed the Sima family who is doing this. Senior, the ancestor of the Sima family broke through the nascent soul realm decades ago. Fortunately, he has been in seclusion for many years. If we go down the mountain now, he will not be able to stop us. After seeing the word Sima embroidered on the sleeves of the formation master, Kibuxiu knew that he was being plotted by the Sima family, and he immediately suggested, He has made up his mind that, after he escapes back to his family, he will definitely expose the Sima family's conspiracy to sell blood ginseng and attract a group of aristocratic families in Guangnan Prefecture to attack. I'm afraid you can't leave. A cold voice came from outside the stone chamber. Qi Buxiu shuddered and turned his head to see Sima Zhao standing in the corridor, followed by Sima Qian and more than a dozen weak figures. Ancestor, Senior Hao, why are you? After seeing who is coming, Qi Buxiu widened his eyes and shouted in extreme fear, and a strong despair suddenly surged into his heart. It's over. Could it be that in these 9 days, the Sima family wiped out all the noble families in Guangnan Prefecture? Almost at the same time, when Qi Buxiu woke up, Sima Zhao, who was extremely proud of his conspiracy, suddenly changed his face in the Shenwang Palace and glared at the heads of the families. You actually sent people to sneak into my Sima family. Tell me, how did you know the location of the dungeon? Hearing this interrogation, all the heads of the Jinden families looked at each other in bewilderment. They didn't even expect Sima Zhao to come out of retreat to poison, so how could they come up with such a clever plan to cut off the fire from the bottom of the pot? Ancestor, is there something wrong with Shuanglang Pavilion? That is the last batch of meteor bowls in the past 10 years. A small part of the captured foundation building monks are in it. We must not lose it. Sima Qian was anxious when he heard this, and he was about to go and check it out. Someone has triggered the secret restriction I left in the lotus room. It must be an old guy from a certain family who sneaked in. I'm afraid you can't deal with it alone. Take these family heads with you, and I, the ancestor, will go there in person. Sima Zhao immediately suspected that one of these family heads had sent his own giant, an old monster who had never appeared in the world, to sneak into Shuanglang Pavilion. These old monsters basically have the cultivation base of the late Jinden period and have been stranded in this realm for a long time. They are proficient in many difficult magical powers and spells. Even if Sima Qian's cultivation base is comparable to Th's, I'm afraid he won't be able to stop them. As for why he stopped forcing these Jinden family heads to feed blood ginseng and took them with him, it was because Sima Zhao thought he had underestimated the caution of these Jinden family heads and was afraid that they had a backup plan that they hadn't used yet, so he planned to take care of them personally. After sending away the low-level family cultivators holding blood ginseng, Sima Zhao and Sima Qian set up a red escape light, wrapped up the Jinden family heads who had no power to resist, and flew to Shuanglang Pavilion. With tokens leading the way, they flew non-stop and soon arrived at the second floor of Shuanglang Pavilion. Seeing the blood all over the floor of the cells and the pale skulls lying on the ground, Sima Qian showed a ferocious look, as if he was going to kill someone. Because the magic weapon they wanted to refine must be completed in one go, being interrupted like this would have wasted all their efforts. Although Sima Zhao still had a gloomy face, the chill in his voice made all the Jinden family heads despair. If it is destroyed, use their family cultivators to make up for it. There is still breath in the lotus room. Follow me quickly. However, Sima Zhao did not know that all his actions were under Luo Hong's watch. You are a little slow. It's better if you don't come. Chapter 723, Founding a Sect. Facing the aggressive Sima Zhao, Luo Hong's face was not surprised at all. After all, he was the one who deliberately triggered the restriction and lured him here. Sima Zhao's cultivation in the early stage of yuanying was already the best in Guangnan Prefecture. Luo Hong expected that he would definitely give the answer he wanted. While Luo Hong was looking at Sima Zhao was also looking at him. The young appearance and the obscure and unfamiliar aura of mana, these 2 points alone overturned Sima Zhao's previous guess. This person is definitely not a cultivator from Guangnan Prefecture. Could it be that the righteous and evil paths have noticed something? Exclamation mark. As soon as the thought came to his mind, Sima Zhao's face became extremely solemn, and his eyes stared at Luo Hong and asked tentatively, "May I ask who you are, fellow Taoist? Why did you trespass into my Sima family?" Luo Hong did not respond immediately after hearing this, but glanced at the more than 10 Jinden family heads behind him, his eyes flickering slightly. The arrival of these people was not what Luo Hong expected. Originally, he had wiped out the Sima family, but it only attracted the attention of the forces behind the Sima family. it was not a big deal for the entire Guangnan prefecture. After all, it was common for the cultivation families to be destroyed here. And if he killed more than a dozen Jindan family heads in order to keep it secret, not to mention whether it was in line with his principles, the noise he would make would not be acceptable to him. If a force that could gain a foothold in a special area, like Guangnan Prefecture, said that it had no connection with the righteous and evil ways, it would definitely be a lie. It is even possible that the ancestors who founded these families were actually disciples of the righteous and evil ways. At this moment, Luo Hong's thoughts changed, and he thought of a completely new path. Luo just thought this place was nice, so I went up the mountain to have a look, and came here by accident. Haha, fellow Daoist Sima, I didn't expect you to do such a devilish thing. Oh. Fellow Daoist Luo seems to be quite elegant. Could it be that you want to join my Sima family and be a guest official for life? Sima Zhao keenly avoided Luo Hong's temptation and did not admit or deny that his family had any connection with the devil's power. No, Luo thinks this place is nice, and I plan to establish a sect. Please help me, fellow Daoist Sima. Luo Hong shook his head slowly. What did you say? Sima Qian shouted angrily. Bullshit, help me, you just want our lives. Sima Zhao on the side no longer had any luck, and secretly used his magic power to prepare for action. If fellow Daoist Sima is unwilling, Luo will not force you. Luo Hong suddenly curled his lips and said, as if he really wanted to give up. Sima Zhao couldn't help but hesitate when he heard this, and guessed whether what Luo Hong said was true or false. Of course, this was more because his consciousness could not detect Luo Hong's true cultivation, so he was so cautious. Since fellow Daoist Sima is unwilling to move, then I will do it for you. Luo Hong's voice suddenly turned cold, and as his eyes shot out cold light, dozens of sword beams shot out without any warning, heading straight for Sima Qian, who was in the late stage of Jindan. These sword beams were invisible and colorless, but the aura was extremely sharp. Sima Qian felt his soul as soon as he sensed it, and he used all his strength to sacrifice his protective magic weapon. A ghost head shield with runes flowing in it instantly blocked Sima Qian's body, and its bloody mouth opened wide to spray out a large piece of black light, turning into a layer of condensed shield. However, before Sima Qian could breathe a sigh of relief, the more than 10 sword beams chopped the ghost head shield and the black light shield into dozens of pieces like cutting tofu. In this way, Sima Qian, who was hiding behind the shield, naturally could not escape, and his soul could not escape, and turned into a pile of broken corpses. Qiana. Seeing the most qualified blood relative die tragically, Sima Zhao wailed, took out a token from his arms, and then sprayed a mouthful of blood essence at it. Suddenly, the formation on the second floor of the ground, which had stopped, started to work again. Countless runes appeared, and the sound of Buddha's voice was heard. But even with the power of Sima Zhao's blood essence, this strange blood refining formation could not do anything to Luo Hong. However, Sima Zhao did not expect to be able to fight Luo Hong with the power of the blood refining formation alone. After all, the other party's means of killing Sima Qian can only be possessed by Yuanying cultivators. With the enhanced version of the Buddha's voice, Qi Buxiu immediately showed a look of pain on his face, and hurriedly sat down cross-legged to resist. In comparison, the more than 10 Jindan family heads who were temporarily unable to mobilize their magic power were even more embarrassed, but in a breath, their blood vessels were swollen, and they looked like they were about to explode. Obviously, Sima Zhao saw through Luo Hong's intention to win over these family heads, so he made this move. As the crowd wailed, he turned into a flash of light and headed back the way he came. Luo Hong was not in a hurry to chase him. Instead, he wanted Sima Zhao to struggle with all his means so as to establish his authority in front of these Jindan family heads. Then, Luo Hong waved his sleeves, and all 12 divine swords flew out, regardless of the formation, and just messed around. Soon, the second underground floor was in a mess, and the blood refining formation set up here was directly broken by violence. Senior Luo, don't worry about us. The Sima family's double dragon play with pearl formation can borrow the power of the mountain. If it is presided over by that old thief Sima, I'm afraid you will be in danger of defeat. At this point, the head of the Qi family knew that he had an irreconcilable relationship with the Sima family, so he reminded sincerely, "This won't do. You are an important audience. Now you can't use your magic power. If you stay here, your life will be in danger. Luo Hong will never let you take such a big risk. There is no need to persuade you." After saying that, Luo Hong turned into a blue escape light, swept everyone, and used the Shen Feng Wuang sword to clear the way, rushing straight out from the underground. When everyone came to the ground, Sima Zhao was holding a formation plate in the air with one hand, and the other hand kept sending magic spells to it. Suddenly, a yellow light column shot up from the center of the formation plate and hit the light shield condensed by the mountain protection formation above. Suddenly, the light shield was bright, and a yellow dragon phantom of 100 feet long emerged from it, coiled and danced above Sima Zhao's head, and a pair of dragon eyes stared at Luo Hong. Not good. The formation spirit has been summoned by the old thief Sima. He is going to fight to the death without caring about the mountain. The head of the Qi family seemed to have carefully inquired about the Sima family, and was quite familiar with their mountain protection formation. He could see Sima Zhao's method at once. Once the mountain force is used, it will be permanently lost regardless of whether it defeats the enemy or not. This place is the Sima family's old nest, so this behavior can be said to be risking everything. Since it is a double dragon playing with a pearl formation, there must be more than one spirit in this formation. Sima Zhao is still casting spells and chanting incantations, which is enough to prove this. Senior Luo, the old thief Sima is very powerful. Why don't we withdraw first and gather troops in the future to give this old thief a hard time? Faced with the might of the formation spirit, the head of the Hao family couldn't help but feel guilty and tactfully persuaded Luo Hong to avoid its edge. A mere spirit of the mountain force wants to stop Luo, destroy it. Luo Hong didn't even use the Rakshasa ghost hand, but used his magic power to condense a crystal blue hand and slap the yellow dragon phantom on the head. Chapter 724 Chaos. Fortunately, all the Jinden family heads were hit by the 10 fragrance powder, and now they are almost mortals, so they did not feel the spiritual pressure of the late Yuanying cultivator. However, Qi Buxiu was not so lucky, and was directly knocked unconscious by the spiritual pressure. On the front battlefield, the crystal blue hand had collided with the yellow dragon phantom. Compared with the yellow dragon phantom, that was 100 feet long, the crystal blue hand was only 6 or 7 feet long, and the difference between the two was huge. However, it was this small crystal blue hand that burst out with terrifying power. With one palm, the yellow dragon phantom was shattered into pieces, and shattered into dots of spiritual light. Because the formation spirit was connected to the mountain, once the yellow dragon phantom was destroyed, the Sima family's mountaintop suddenly shook violently, large pieces of rock fell off, and the mountain collapsed suddenly. For a time, countless Sima family monks were killed and injured, and all the pavilions and buildings were destroyed. At the same time, Sima Zhao was also attacked back. Not only did the array plate in his hand break, but his chest felt stuffy, and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. "You are actually a late-stage cultivator." Sima Zhao was very depressed. "You should have said it earlier. Isn't this fishing?" Luo Hong didn't waste his words with him. He flipped his hand, and sacrificed the 5 heavens pocket. A piece of colorful light flew out from his sleeves and instantly enveloped Sima Zhao, turning into a net bag with lightning. With a few screams, Sima Zhao lost his temper after being struck by the 5-element divine thunder, and was immediately restrained by the 5 heavens pocket. After collecting the magic weapon, Luo Hong looked at the Sima family cultivators who were fleeing in all directions, and he didn't have the idea of catching them all in one net. Since these people have eaten the human blood steamed bun steamed by the Sima family, none of them are innocent. After today, the major families of Guangnan Prefecture will desperately hunt them down. At the foot of the mountain, many cultivators around the 9 arenas looked at the collapsed half of Shuangqin Mountain and lost their ability to speak for a while. Especially the cultivators standing on the stage. They didn't know what to do. It was obvious that no one would come to distribute the prizes for this session of the King of Ginseng conference. How could this happen? Didn't the master say that we should sneak in and not make any noise? Lu Zhu couldn't help but feel that Luo Hong had misunderstood the word sneak in. Humph. It's really unlucky that I have to suffer misfortune today. After the purple-clothed female cultivator came to her senses, she immediately realized that if she continued to stay here, she would not only fail to obtain the 1,000-year-old blood ginseng, but also get into trouble. So after a delicate cry, she was ready to withdraw and leave, away from this place of trouble. However, before she could set up the escape light, a circle of spiritual light suddenly appeared on the horizon. After looking far away, the cultivators suddenly realized that it was not a spiritual light, but the escape light produced when countless cultivators flew away together. Shuankin Mountain was surrounded by these cultivators. Seeing this scene, the cultivators around the stage couldn't help but panic, and they took a defensive posture in groups of 3 or 5. The reaction of the Chindan monks near the green bamboo was even more intense. They all flew onto the stage at the same time and seemed to be joining forces. Brother Yin, did you see clearly? Are they really monks from those big families? The sturdy monk regretted it at this time. If he had left with his disciples earlier, he would not be surrounded here. Humph. The old monster Hao in the east has a blood feud with Yin. Do you think Yin will mistake his aura? The black-robed monk said very impolitely. He seemed cold, but he was actually very anxious. The big families formed such a large coalition of monks, which must be ill-intentioned. We must think of countermeasures, and cannot let them bully us. For now, only if we, the Chindan monks, join forces, can we have a chance to break out of the encirclement. These Chindan monks were either independent cultivators or foreign monks. Naturally, they did not trust the coalition formed by local monks. At this moment, they talked to each other and wanted to join forces to protect themselves. Little girl, I think you have some skills. Why don't you join us? Don't think that you can be safe just because you have the support of your master. If these old monsters have the intention to kill, your master can't find them. After the black-robed monk pondered for a moment, he suddenly turned to Luo Zhu and invited him. If I want to run, I will follow this sister. I can't trust you. Seeing these people in a hurry, Luo Zhu laughed secretly. When someone talked to her, she couldn't help but joked. But she didn't realize that she wanted to get close to the purple-robed female cultivator for no reason, and she changed her name naturally. My fellow Taoist, you didn't say anything just now. I don't know what you mean. After Luo Zhu reminded them, everyone realized that the purple-robed female cultivator had not expressed her opinion. She has the cultivation level of the middle stage of the Chindan, and only the black-robed monk can compare with her among the crowd. Naturally, she is the object that must be won over. I'm a loner, and don't want to join forces with anyone. Besides, these cultivators only appeared after the landslide, and they are probably heading for the Sima family. We may not have to fight them, the purple-clothed female cultivator said, keeping people at a distance. We all know this, but if you look down on the character of those big families, you will definitely suffer. If the Sima family can compete with these cultivators, naturally no one will pay attention to us. But now it is obvious that the Sima family is at a disadvantage, so we will most likely become prey. The sturdy cultivator said earnestly, with a look of reminiscence on his face, as if he had suffered such a loss before. His words obviously touched everyone's heart, not only making the black-robed cultivators and others more anxious, but also making the purple-clothed female cultivator frown. At this moment, the purple-clothed female cultivator saw Luo Zhu's relaxed look, and her heart was moved. She suddenly said, "Little girl, do you know the inside story of this landslide?" Sister, don't worry. My master sneaked up the mountain before. This must be the noise he made. Although my master treats me harshly, he has never beaten or scolded me. He is very kind, so he will never kill innocent people." As soon as the purple-clothed female cultivator opened her mouth, Luo Zhu seemed to have lost his soul, and said everything he should and shouldn't say. Everyone's expressions became complicated when they heard this. They thought that the person who could collapse a mountain and destroy a great family of immortal cultivators at will must be a person with great magical powers and a ruthless heart. How could he be as easy to get along with as Luo Zhu said? "May I ask your master's name? What is your cultivation level?" The purple-clothed female cultivator's eyes were filled with purple light, and her tone was a little hurried. However, as soon as she finished speaking, a piece of mutton fat jade pendant on Luo's waist emitted a spiritual light, which made her sober up, as if a cold breeze blew on her face. "You use seduction magic on me." Luo was stunned for a moment, then immediately understood, and hurriedly took 2 steps back, clamping the talisman between her fingers. At this moment, a hand stretched out from behind Luo, pressed down her arm holding the talisman, and pressed it down. "Fellow Daoist Zealing, after not seeing each other for so many years, why do you bully Luo's disciples as soon as you meet?" Chapter 725 Wang Jianmen. When Luo Hong appeared on the stage, more than 10 sound transmission nodes flew to the leaders of the monks' coalition. These monks were actually the backup plans of the Jiandan family heads, originally to deal with the worst situation. According to the previous plan, once these Jiandan family heads fell out with Sima Zhao in the Shenwang Palace, they would take advantage of the situation and kill the Sima family completely. Unfortunately, Sima Zhao was one step ahead, causing all the Jiandan family heads to lose their magic power before they could send a signal. If Luo Hong hadn't interfered, Sima Zhao would have used blood ginseng to control these Jiandan family heads, and then he would have used top-down means to control the entire Guangnan prefecture. Now that the mountain has collapsed, even if they didn't receive the signals from the family heads, these monks couldn't sit still, and the result was the current encirclement. As for these sound transmission notes, they were from the hands of the Jiandan family heads who were saved by Luo Hong, and the things they conveyed were all the same. There are cultivators in the late Yuanying stage who want to establish a sect in Guangnan prefecture. On the stage, after greeting Zealing, Luo Hong said calmly, "Guangnan prefecture is blessed with outstanding people and beautiful scenery. I'm very happy to see it. I want to establish a Taoist school in Shuanqin Mountain and set up the Gate of 10,000 Swords. Within 1 month, all the immortal cultivation families in Guangnan prefecture can bring their children here, and then I will open the gate of the mountain." Luo Hong's voice was not loud, but it was clearly heard by every cultivator. After that, he took Lu Zhu and fled to Shuanqin Mountain, leaving the immortal cultivators present to digest the news. After a moment of silence, a loud discussion broke out among the cultivators, and everyone had the same idea: Guangnan prefecture will completely change from now on. When this stone stirred up thousands of waves, Luo Hong, who threw the stone, had already arrived at a stone pavilion on the top of the peak. Not long after, a purple escape light came from the sky and landed outside the stone pavilion. "Fellow Daoist Zealing, I haven't seen you for many years. Why don't you have a cup of tea with me and reminisce about the past?" Luo Hong couldn't hide her joy when she met an old friend in a foreign land. She extended her hand to invite him. Zealing didn't hesitate. She walked to the pavilion with lotus steps and sat on the stone chair opposite Luo Hong. "Brother Luo always gives me a lot of surprises every time we meet. Let's not talk about Brother Luo's current unfathomable cultivation. Just the fact that he wants to pass down the Dao Tong in Guangnan prefecture is quite puzzling to me. Is Brother Luo going to settle down in Dajin from now on? Haha, Dajin is good, but I still can't get used to it. And who said that after passing down the Dao Tong, I must stick to one place? Today, I established the Wanjian Gate, just as a casual move. It would be best if it succeeds, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't. But Daoist fellow Zealing, how have you been these years? I see that your cultivation has reached the false infant realm. Did you come to Shuanqin Mountain for the effect of the 1,000-year-old blood ginseng in breaking through the bottleneck of the infant formation? The seal of the Wanjianta requires 81 different Jiandan level sword key to be unsealed. One of the purposes of Luo Hong's sudden establishment of the Wanjian Gate is to cultivate sword cultivators, so that he can unseal the Wanjianta in the future. The more critical purpose is that Luo Hong intends to use the Wanjian Gate to hide the entrance to the Wentian cave mansion. The excuse of establishing a sect was enough to prevent the forces behind the Sima family from jumping off the wall. After all, from the memory obtained by King Feng, after devouring Sima Zhao's nascent soul, the buyer of these magic tools was not the 10 major sects of the demonic path as Luo Hong had originally guessed, but the Pure Land sect of Buddhism, which had a feud with him. Although it was unknown why the Buddhist sect would use living people to refine magic tools, there must be a conspiracy. The Pure Land sect deliberately supported the Sima family in Guangnan Prefecture, and its purpose was not small. It must be investigated if it was destroyed for no reason. If Luo Hong didn't want them to discover the secrets in the belly of the mountain, he had to give them an obvious target, so the establishment of the Wanjian sect was a two-pronged approach. Ziling concealed her cultivation to the early stage of the Dan formation, not to play the pig and eat the tiger, but this was the side effect of her mysterious skill secret method to conceal her true appearance. Of course, in front of Luo Hong, who had achieved great success in cultivation, her secret technique was equivalent to nothing, and her peerless appearance was reflected in her eyes. Compared to the past, her virgin body has become more and more magical as her cultivation level has increased. The natural charm she exudes is enough to make cultivators below the Jindan stage become her slaves without knowing it, even if she does not reveal her true appearance, and even if the other party is also a girl, she cannot escape. Moreover, the terrible thing about this natural supernatural power is that it moistens things silently. Even with the magic jade pendant given by Luo Hong, Lu Zhu was fooled. If Ziling had not been anxious later and took the initiative to use charm to trick her, I'm afraid that Lu Zhu would not have noticed the changes in herself until now. When you have reached my level of cultivation, you naturally have to start thinking about forming a baby. I happened to meet this King of Ginseng conference, and I thought it was my chance. Unexpectedly, Brother Luo destroyed the Sima family so easily, which made me happy for nothing. Seeing that Luo Hong did not elaborate, Ziling also wisely did not ask, and complained with a white eye. Haha, not only can you not blame me for this, you should thank me. This blood ginseng is not a good thing. If you take a lot of it, it will leave hidden dangers in your soul. You may die without knowing how you died. Daoist friends, just know about this, don't make it public. After Luo Hong laughed, her face suddenly became serious. As a casual cultivator, I don't want to get involved in such troublesome things. After sighing in disappointment, Ziling raised her eyebrows and asked indifferently, how is Brother Han recently? Did he come to Dajin with Brother Luo? Junior Brother Han is also in Dajin now, but he should be in seclusion in a secret place at this time. Luo, I don't know where he is exactly. After coming out of seclusion this time, Junior Brother Han will be not far from the late nascent soul stage. I think he will be busy for 100 years. Luo Hong narrowed his eyes and looked at Ziling with a sly smile. Perhaps because of his thoughts, Ziling said with some embarrassment, Brother Luo, please don't misunderstand me. I don't have any thoughts about Brother Han. Haha, you can actually have this. Luo Hong teased, and seeing Ziling's cheeks flushed and about to leave, he immediately changed the subject and said, let's get back to business. Luo Hong has a lot of spiritual objects that can help to form a baby. One of them is an ancient pill called Yuhe pill, which is quite effective for you to break through the bottleneck. As long as you help me to support the Wanjian sect, I will offer you all the spiritual objects and ancient pills. After setting up the framework, Luo Hong immediately went to Wentian cave to heal his wounds. He would not take care of the affairs of Wanjian sect, so he needed a trustworthy person to preside over it. Hearing this, Ziling was immediately happy and worried. She was happy that Luo Hong was so sleepy and gave her a pillow, but she was worried that she would be bound to Wanjian sect in the future. Brother Luo's proposal is very tempting to me, but I can only take over the position of the headmaster temporarily. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.